Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 60. I am your host. With me, as always, my co-host and teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hi.
So, you've knocked off I was going to say original Spider-Man, but the Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire from back in the day this morning.
Sam Raimi.
What did you think?
It was good.
Yeah, it's a good...
Just watched it.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. The Sam Raimi ones is, I think, what they're known as, because, like, that's the director.
Director,
guy.
right, yes.
Yeah.
So early superhero stuff, kind of, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've heard they're good. And also, I think Tobey Maguire will be in the new MCU one.
You said they're putting them all together?
I think so. Well, that's, like, the assumption.
Nice.
Because multiverse.
Nice. Well, welcome to any new listeners that are joining us. Welcome back if you're a regular listener. What did we put out this week? We did an AEW All Out review. Really strong show. I also did my Ring of Honor 520 is out there for people to check out if they like. If you'd like to contact us, just let us know what you think of our podcast. Let us know what you think of the wrestling we're talking about. It's fnswrestling@gmail.com, FNS_wrestling_podcast on Instagram, or you can leave a comment on YouTube if that's where you happen to be listening to us. So another week is over, buddy. Another week of high school done.
Yeah,
how did you like it?
This week was rough, not gonna lie.
Was rough?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. I mean, I worked hard all week.
Did you? We had a 2-day week. So, again, for some reason, we had an incredibly long weekend for the first time that I ever remember. So, we only had school on Thursday and Friday this week. So, I could get used to a 2-day week. How about you?
Yeah.
Right?
I would like that.
Yeah. So, and then today, what do we have going on? Your aunt and uncle, I guess, are coming over for like an early birthday thing for your younger brother. His birthday's in 11 days, I think he reminded me this morning.
Gross.
So they're coming over a bit, and we're going to have to pause the recording and check for some chocolate-covered strawberries that are getting dropped off at the door, and it's supposed to be hot today. So we're in charge of making sure they don't melt.
Chocolate-covered strawberries are ruined.
We must protect them.
I can't allow
So, but it's going to be seamless for you listeners. You won't notice that we leave and come back, hopefully, if I can do this right. So you shouldn't notice, but we will be checking for the chocolate-covered strawberries at some point.
You'll never know when it happens, but when it does happen, it will have happened.
Yeah, and anything you wanted to talk about?
I finally got some of the Marvel CMF.
The Marvel CMF, which is what?
The Lego thing.
You talked about it.
Blind bags.
And you were limited to only 5 of them. It was on our previous podcast.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did. Well, yeah, if anyone didn't listen to the All Out thing, yeah. The Toys R Us only let me get 5. I was going to get like 14.
Yeah, but no.
They had like 6 boxes in the aisle and like at least 2 in one of the checkout lanes.
Yes.
So they did not need to limit it.
But collector type people will literally come and buy all of them, and that's not really the point, right?
Yeah.
So I get what they're doing.
And people feel them up or whatever.
Yeah.
But that leads me to well, next time I'm in Newmarket, that's my business. Is
to go get 5 more?
Yes.
Every time you're there?
I was hoping they would have some at our local Walmart because I remember back when like last year's CMF Series 20
Yep.
was out. And like I think it was like the clearance aisle or like at the back they had like a box of it. And so I've been checking a few times to see if they have the Marvel CMF anywhere.
Right? They sometimes have random stuff.
I did check on like the day it came out, so that's kind of dumb. But now it's been like a week at least since it's been out. So
your major hope is Toys R Us, which again our friends in the United States don't have, but we still have a few of them kicking around here in Canada.
I can't remember what the store was called, but a couple of locations of this one store will have like a Toys R Us section. So there's like a bit of.
Oh yeah.
I saw that a little while ago. I forgot
you wouldn't
what the
remember
store was
this, but even in our town here where we live, do you remember we had a Toys R Us Express?
Yeah, my friend was telling me about
it was the only one I ever remember seeing because it was like a quarter the size or less, maybe like a tenth of the size of a normal Toys R Us, and they really just had like nothing major. It was a lot of clearance stuff, and I think just some stuff that wasn't super popular that they put sort of in the outskirts of places. But yeah, it was across town there where the Source is now.
Yeah.
So that's
Stupid
where it was.
Source.
Years ago. I don't know. You want to get into talking about some wrestling?
Sure.
We probably could, right? So that's going to put us our first segment. Every week we're going to start talking about some news and rumors. So ratings, first of all, I thought I would start with, as Demon Finn Balor is poking out at me here. He's got a figure across the table from me. Scared me there. I thought I would talk about ratings for All Out. We don't officially have them, and apparently I don't quite understand how the buy rates work, but it said they won't have it for probably a couple months. But Tony Khan, the AEW president, revealed on Busted Open Radio that he's saying...
That's Bully Ray, right?
I think so. He's saying that All Out easily topped the 200,000 buy mark, which is pretty big. He said, quote, "It's great to be able to tell you guys that our pay-per-view did well over 200,000 buys, which is a big milestone that nobody had hit in this country for a long time. So it's pretty special week for AEW." So obviously great news for them. And again, we won't know the buy rate for a few months.
That's pretty special.
But I also think it's a somewhat misleading because I don't even think WWE counts theirs as pay-per-views anymore, right? Because it's all rolled into the network. So to say that
they still do, but like I guess like you can't really like
their buys wouldn't really count for anything because
like,
the vast majority
doesn't really matter.
Right. So to me it's somewhat misleading to be like it's in this country for a long time. It's the biggest buy rate. Well, yeah, you're the biggest company offering actual pay-per-views, so that makes sense. So somewhat misleading, but again, Tony Khan's a smart guy. He knows how to say things, right, to get maximum effect. So regardless, that's a really good buy rate. And one thing I read is saying it could even be significantly higher, like closer to 300,000 when it comes out, but I guess we'll find out. Mm-hmm. And then our regular ratings, we get Tuesdays. Are you ready for NXT's ratings this week? So what do I usually say is the threshold for a decent number for NXT? 700,000-ish, I think is okay. So Tuesdays, the final taped edition of NXT
good edition of NXT, even though it wasn't that good.
And they're actually calling it NXT 2.0, right, within WWE, which is interesting.
That makes me sad.
Anyways, this last taped episode drew 601,000 viewers on USA Network, which is down over 16%, earned a pretty small 0.14 in the 18 to 49 demographic that they care so much about. That's down almost 18%. And this is the lowest audience on the USA Network since they moved to Tuesdays. So obviously not a good number. And I'm sure it's not the trend they're hoping for as they head into the new updated NXT next week, right? Like I would hope that they were trying to draw more and more people, but maybe they're hoping that next week they're going to pull a big number, but I don't know. People might tune in for curiosity's sake, right? I guess, to see the new NXT.
Yeah, maybe people like to be disgusted.
Maybe. I mean, you're not super optimistic about it, and neither am I, but I'm going to try and keep an open mind.
I will not.
To contrast those pretty low ratings for NXT, Wednesday's live post-all-out edition of Dynamite reportedly drew 1.319 million viewers on TNT. So more than double what NXT got, up almost 26%, earned a humongous 0.52 in that 18 to 49-year-old demographic, which is up over 40%. So I think I mentioned this to you earlier in the week that Dynamite actually beat this week's Raw in the key demographic.
I saw, yeah.
So that is, Vince can say they're not competition, that he's not worried about it or whatever, but has to be a lie at this point because they are coming on strong, right, AEW? So Dynamite ranked number 1 in the cable top 150 this week and drew the second highest audience and demographic rating in show history, only trailing the premiere episode of Dynamite. So fantastic numbers for AEW. They are just on fire right now. Closing the gap on some WWE programming, which is pretty crazy to think at this point in their existence, and actually beating Raw in the key demographic. So that's a huge week for AEW. And honestly, after that pay-per-view that was top to bottom pretty fantastic, they sort of deserve some ratings, right? And some attention, I think. Any news from you?
To continue on the AEW train, the PWI 500 is probably the biggest ranking.
I would think so. I think it's the one that most people recognize.
Yeah. And K Omega once again tops the list.
He does.
Number 1. I believe the number 2 was Reigns. I know right, I don't remember the order, but I know guys like Moxley, Lashley are in there, Ibushi, a lot of the major world champions of this year, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that makes sense to me. I mean, it's hard to pick somebody who has a better year than Omega, and because I think New Japan's sort of in a bit of decline with the pandemic and whatnot, so there seem to be a tier below right now some of the other companies going, so it makes sense to me. Talking about AEW, we've got normally a pretty big Defender and WWE guy, Mick Foley, took to Facebook to praise AEW and criticize WWE.
I saw this.
I've also seen a follow-up saying there's some people sort of in WWE that are not too happy about him saying these things, because he's generally a pretty staunch WWE guy, right? That so some of the highlights
they made him.
Some of the highlights of what he said were, and all direct quotes from him: WWE is no longer the place for talent to aspire to. AEW is doing a great job of attracting great talent, proven talent, building other talent, creating storylines. If I was an aspiring talent now, a big league talent with a major decision to make, I'm not sure I would trust WWE creative to do the right thing with my career. And the final one I have: if it was today, I'm not sure I would trust the powers to be with my career in their hands. And until that changes, WWE, you've got a problem. So it's kind of nice to hear, because these are all the things that we say and we believe, right? But we're obviously not on the inside of the wrestling world. But here's a guy with sort of knows what's going on and completely agreeing with exactly how we feel. So I think it's kind of vindicating for us and a lot of wrestling fans that I feel like objectively look at wrestling, right? We're not choosing to just love one company and everything they do. We're just kind of seeing what's out there and honestly evaluating. And this is exactly how I feel. So I think he's just being honest, and he's probably right. And I don't think WWE likes it too much.
Yeah. Next, I did tell you about this when I saw it, because it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But the apparent main roster plans for Adam Cole have been put out,
right.
And it's stupid.
No wonder he left, right?
Yeah, so they planned on pairing Cole up with Raw's Keith Lee, which on the surface doesn't sound bad, but it is. So apparently, obviously, Lee would have turned heel, which I had already heard rumored, so I guess this would have been put that into effect. So then, obviously, he would fit with Cole. And then, like, again, that doesn't sound too bad, but then Cole would have been Lee's manager, similar to Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley.
Right.
And Cole would have done the same role, and he would have likely had to change his ring name in order to avoid confusion with Michael Cole. And apparently this was a Bruce Pritchard idea, but
sounds like it.
It also, another person said it might have been Vince.
Either one.
Apparently they saw Cole as more of a manager than a wrestler, which
that's disgusting.
That's just ridiculous.
It is.
He's like
no doubt, like, of course he could be a manager because he's an amazing talker,
not now.
Great
he's
charisma.
Like prime.
I know, but like he has all of those things. They're just basically going, you're too small to be believable as a wrestler, so we're just gonna have you talk. And it's gross, but it's how they think, and that attitude might be like the death of NXT and stuff, right? Because if that's what they go with, all of these athletes they're converting to wrestlers, and that's what they're making me watch for 2 hours, I'm not sure I'm going to commit to it.
Right.
And New Japan Strong is on fire right now. I can replace my NXT with an hour of cool wrestling.
Or like Rampage, or like,
so there's lots of options.
Throw an Impact.
So we're going to give NXT a chance, but I mean, you're really pessimistic about it. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm afraid it's going to take a significant dip. But we're at least going to do a couple weeks, right, and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, this doesn't exactly help.
No, it doesn't. Former WWE star Andrade El Idolo is apparently not too happy about being booked to wrestle on Rampage this week. Now, this might be reading a lot into this, because all he did was like a tweet, but the tweet that he liked said, "Why you let AEW put Andrade El Idolo on Friday Night Heat, I mean Rampage."
Which I think that's a little extreme.
It is. I agree that Rampage is not... I don't think it's like prime time stuff.
Well, obviously
it feels
not,
like a secondary show.
Well,
but you know how
it's obviously going to be a secondary show. Like, would you expect it to be like on the same level of Dynamite? Like,
no, but like Raw and SmackDown, it's debatable, right? And I think that's maybe what AEW wants, but it doesn't feel that way now.
Right, but that's fine if you have a secondary show. It's not like Heat. I think that's just an exaggeration. And like, if it was like Heat, then they wouldn't put.
It's not Heat for sure. That's definitely hyperbole.
Like, why would they be putting stuff like that on Rampage, like, or Punk, or like?
And it's just, I thought this was interesting because it's like a very rare so far to hear any talent even come close to complain, right? It's basically a love fest. The locker room's amazing. Yeah, everyone loves each other.
I think it's not that big of a deal. Cause, like,
no, I don't.
Like, you could it could have been on Dark Elevation, honestly. Like,
but I know, but Andrade thinks he's a star, right? And he has an ego like most of these guys do, so he wants to be on the flagship show. I get it, but it's just the first sort of complaints I've seen.
Yeah, I don't really like the Heat comment.
But I got another one coming.
It just doesn't make sense.
I got another complaint coming, but go ahead. What do you have next?
So next, Lee Moriarty signs with AEW.
Right.
He's like I've heard one of the recent independent standouts.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I've heard the name too, but I don't think I've ever seen him do anything. But so that's interesting for me. I always look forward to seeing somebody new. Heard his name, don't know much about him. Yeah. So on the subject of talent sort of complaining, Melissa Santos, right, took to social media. Cage's wife, the ring announcer from Lucha Underground. So she complained about how her husband, Brian Cage, is being used by AEW. So here it comes. I feel like this is going to be a trend. Santos said, Brian Cage is a superstar. Those people who know him from the Indies, Impact, Lucha Underground, where I met him, know that he is a superstar. All you have to do is Google him, watch all of his matches. He's a superstar, and he's being misused right now. So this type of thing, I think, is going to start happening more and more because AEW still really only has 2 hours of premium programming. Again, I'm not considering Rampage the same level. And all of these wrestlers have egos, man. That's how they get to the point they're at. There simply isn't enough time to satisfy all of these wrestlers' beliefs on how prominently they should be featured. So I honestly think that this is one of the major issues AEW is going to have to figure out going forward, because you can't sign everybody all the time and keep them happy.
I mean, Cage is a superstar, but like he's not necessarily being used bad. It's just like a...
And it's not even, to me, it's not even about that. It's not whether he is or not. He believes he is. And most of these guys and women are going to believe they are.
Well,
right?
he is. He's pretty awesome.
I think Tony Khan's biggest challenge going forward is to balance all of this stuff, because or he's gonna have to start releasing people. Honestly, like,
which that sucks, because
at
no one wants
you
that
have
to happen.
Or not renew contracts, right? Whatever the case may be, you can't just sign infinite talent and get away with it. But anyways,
I don't know. I think this is kind of dumb, because sure, Cage isn't like in the title picture right now, but he's not in a bad spot. I would say you could.
No, but
if you're like someone like
he's mid card, and he doesn't think he is. That's the issue.
He's fine, like, I guess, but like, I think this is why you need another mid card title, because
I don't know.
They just have such a I
just want the trios titles.
That's true. You could throw Cage in there too. That'd be cool.
Of course you could. Anyways, what else do you have?
Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley was scheduled for Extreme Rules, but now it's been moved to this Monday's Raw. I think there's football starting up.
There is. Something. It started it started on Thursday. Excellent game. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady, last minute drive, of course, to win a game at my age. The man is exactly my age, and I don't understand. Nice. He's some sort of alien.
Yeah, so I guess this is to combat that. So now Lashley's going to need something for Extreme Rules, but that's fine, because I never thought Orton would win, and I don't want Orton to win.
Me either.
I don't really want to see Orton versus Lashley on pay-per-view, so this is actually good.
We're still in a state where it's like, who's going to beat Lashley and or Roman Reigns? Right? Like, who?
The issue is, to both answers I say Big E, but he can only choose one.
And I don't have any confidence that they want to have him do that. Like, I think that's smart, and I've been waiting for them to push Big E for years.
But when are they ever smart?
They're not good. Doesn't seem like they want to pull that trigger.
I don't. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they would be the people who are smart.
Right. Speaking of AEW signing too much talent, WWE star Kevin Owens tweeted, then deleted the coordinates to Mount Rushmore. So on the surface, you're like, so what? And I actually didn't get the reference either. But the tweet's causing some people to speculate he's on his way out of WWE and possibly looking to sign with AEW.
Yeah,
so this
I
is
saw
more
his contract ends in next January, and he's expected to leave WWE. That's the consensus.
Because one of the things I read said that in 5 years ago, or no, not 5 years ago, that he said he signed a 5-year contract, and when he said that, that would put it at 2003, but they weren't, or sorry, 23, but they weren't sure that that was storyline or whatever.
So, like, did you mention the Rushmore thing?
So basically, he was in a Mount Rushmore stable with the Young Bucks and Adam Cole prior to being with WWE. That's not like the
best faction I've ever seen.
I don't even remember it, to be honest.
Me neither, but that sounds awesome.
And another thing worth noting along the same lines is that he updated his Twitter profile to say in the location section, almost there. So
the sucky part is I really want him in AEW.
Again, AEW can't keep signing everyone, but man, would it be cool to have him. I would love to have him there.
I really hope, like, I feel like if they, like, maybe if they can swing at some point at TNT, they could turn Rampage into a second, like, a Dynamite level show, because I feel like some point they might have to.
They have to do something to accommodate all of these people coming in.
And my dream scenario now is because I assume NXT is gonna bite the dust pretty soon. So go ahead, do that, and then Rampage gets bumped to 2 hours. You make it like Dynamite, make it not feel like the secondary show. So then you don't have guys like Andrade complaining about it, right? And then we can just review both of those.
I guess so. And I think like Khan clearly has super deep pockets, so money's not really an issue. I think it's going to be more keeping people happy.
That's the thing, because it's like he can just sign them, but then it's like once you sign them, what the hell do you do?
Right. You only have so much time, right? But I mean, it's working so far, but I keep saying like at some point you have to get rid of somebody, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Yeah. Anything else from you? I got 2 more.
Let me see. I have 1 more.
Go ahead.
The Demon King Finn Balor is officially back.
Yeah,
he returned on SmackDown.
You heard the dun dun.
Yes.
And you knew it.
Yes.
So that's good.
He will be facing Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. Lesnar also seems to be being positioned here. My thing is, Lesnar likes money because he's a greedy bugger.
He does.
And I'm thinking he's Saudi Arabia, which is
I'm pretty sure he will
be. And Balor is Extreme Rules. See,
you ready for the Demon to lose, though?
It's a conflict of interest for me because I love the Demon. I think it looks really cool.
Yep.
Like, the entrance is awesome. The paint is awesome.
Yep.
But he does kind of have to lose, which sucks because he's only lost once in NXT, and that was to Samoa frickin' Joe in a cage, right? So it does kind of suck, but I guess the caveat with that is it's Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns is its most dominant force in WWE, I guess.
He's the final boss at this point.
I think it could be a cool match, though, because the Demon Balor character is so, like, it doesn't lend itself great to Roman's slow style. So
it should be him trying to speed things up and Roman trying to slow things down. So that could be a really cool story to tell.
I could see this being, and there could be a stipulation even added eventually, because this is Extreme Rules, and they feel the need to add a stipulation to everything. 2
talented guys, right? So it could be a really good match, hopefully.
I'm really hoping he goes back, I've said this, to the Demon paint where he's got like the teeth painted on his face.
That was your favorite.
Like the teeth on his chest, and then like maybe like a tongue on his neck or whatever.
Yep.
Because right now he does like a all black paint with like some red around his eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like he does the body paint. The body paint looks cool, but I really liked as like the demon mouth kind of on his upper body, and then like whatever else, you know what I mean? So I wish he'd go back to that kind of the NXT Balor Demon.
You are a big fan
/
of that.
early main roster.
Another possible signing for AEW by the looks of it, and that is Lio Rush. Tony Khan himself tweeted, "I see a lot of tweets talking about Lio Rush today. Coincidentally, I've been talking to Lionel Green a lot recently about returning to AEW, and it feels like something that could happen in the near future."
I feel like...
And I really like him. I think he offers something unique. He's just so incredibly fast and smooth. But again...
Like,
how much talent can they hold?
They have a lot of people, and he doesn't feel like one that I really need to see there, right?
No.
Like Owens, I think that'd be great. But Rush, like, he is good, don't get me wrong, I agree, but I don't, like, if I'm having to pick and choose, I don't, like, you know what I mean? Unless they had, like, a cruiserweight division, which they don't.
No.
Like, then you could justify bringing him there because he would be a good name to kind of bolster that division. Yeah, but they don't have that.
And maybe he doesn't have expectations of being a top of the roster guy, and he'll be a little happier like to work Rampage, or I don't know, right? So I think he's really talented.
Accidentally falling into like low card / enhancement talent.
I'm a little tired of his I've retired business, but I do like to watch him wrestle for sure. Right. The last thing I have is a bit of ROH news. And it's officially they have signed Roxy and Miranda Alizé, who are the 2 finalists. I also
saw they got a deal with Max.
Yes, which is awesome. So these are the 2 finalists in the ROH Women's Tournament right now, and I think both signings make sense. They're obviously trying to build a women's division, and Roxy is like a 19-year-old who looks really good.
I just thought of more Ring of Honor news.
And then Alizé has impressed me more as the tournament's got on. She's kind of reminds me of Evilise, and I think she's doing a really nice job as the like lucha baddie is her nickname she gives herself. So I'm happy with both of those signings, to be honest.
And even bigger news at Death Before Dishonor, Taylor Rust is wrestling. Woo!
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's wrestling Jake Atlas, which is not that interesting.
That should be good.
Taylor Rust.
I'm telling you, give Jake Atlas a chance in a non-WWE environment. I think you're going to be impressed. He's a lot better than what they let him show.
Taylor Russ.
I know. It's the biggest Tyler Russ fan in the world right here.
Yeah. But if I'm going to watch Ring of Honor just for that.
Nice. Are you done with your news?
Yes.
All right, so let's move into talking about our first weekly episode of wrestling, and that is our in-depth review of this week's NXT. So Vic Joseph welcomes us, reminds us of the 2 championship matches coming up on tonight's show, and then we head straight into Ember Moon's theme and entrance for her match as she is going to face...
Oh, I hate her theme so much.
Kaylee Ray in the opening match. Is it new or have you always hated it?
No,
because I never noticed.
It's not new. It's just really bad.
No, it's just always been bad.
Sucks.
So this match I was kind of looking forward to. Love Kaylee Ray. Ember Moon I really like in ring. Figured they'd have a good match here. So
yeah.
We get holds and counters on the mat to start, then a standing headlock by Moon, arm drag reversal, and a single leg drop kick by Moon for 2. Kaylee Ray dodges an Ember Moon attack, snaps her arm across the top to sort of slow down and shift the momentum. Front suplex by Kaylee Ray for a 2 count. She then slows things down, targets Moon's left arm for a bit with various holds and submissions. Series of kicks, then culminating in a step-up enziguri by Moon, a codebreaker, and a lengthy crossface by Ember Moon as well. Then Kaylee Ray does, I don't know if I've seen it before, it looks like she's going for a roll-up attempt. I don't know if you remember this, but she actually does it really close to the corner, so she intentionally
she like pulls her into the turnbuckles.
Yeah, so like intentionally bounces Moon off the turnbuckles. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kaylee Ray's back to attacking Moon's arm and drives her arm first into the mat, slapping a super kick from Ray. But Moon ends up firing up here, hangs Kaylee Ray in the corner before kicking her as she's still hanging upside down. The ref sort of leads Ember Moon away, but she aggressively comes back and kicks Ray in the head again, which I thought was a nice sort of aggressive side of Ember Moon that seems to be here a little bit right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nice tornado DDT by Ray for a near fall. Moon then front suplexes Kaylee Ray over the top to the floor before hitting a nice suicide dive to follow up. Moon goes up top for her eclipse, but Ray catches her with a strike, flips her off the top to the mat, yes. So Ray hits a top rope, flipping senton for a near fall. Strike exchange, Moon catches a Kaylee Ray boot, counters with a nice Michinoku driver. A few sort of near falls near the end of this, and then Kaylee Ray just kind of hits her gory bomb a little bit out of nowhere and picks up the win here in a highly competitive match. What did you think of the match?
I thought it was a solid opener from them. There were some pretty cool moves in here. Some things like I haven't seen. I was like, oh, that was cool.
Yep.
Finish where Kaylee Ray transitioned into the gory bomb was really cool, and as expected, resulted in a win for her. Although she didn't get a ton in.
Right. No. So this is gonna sound weird, but I think you'll know what I mean. I think this was a good match, but I didn't really like it. Does that make sense?
Well. Elaborate, yes.
Because basically, Kaylee Ray did for me in her debut, and me knowing how good she is, because I've seen her a ton, she did far too much selling and didn't get enough time on offense. I think that's kind of what you're saying too. Like, it looked like this was a showcase for Ember Moon, because I thought she looked awesome in this, to be honest. And she got way more stuff
Which, I mean, maybe that's also a feather in Kaylee Ray's cap, I guess.
Could be. Like, I find Kaylee Ray's thing is like her aggressive strikes and then suplexes and stuff like that, but there really wasn't much of that here, right? She basically took offense from Ember Moon for the most part and then kind of pulled out the finisher out of nowhere. So I'm used to seeing her like an aggressive dominant force, right? And I didn't see that here, so I didn't really love it for that reason. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't think it was a bad match. In fact, it's probably a good match, but I didn't like it because I feel like they showcased the wrong person a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
That's fair.
Yeah. So we then get Mackenzie Mitchell. She's talking to your favorite faction and one that I'm trying to give a chance to. Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Ridge Holland. It's mentioned that the NXT Tag Team titles will be on the line in tonight's main event, and Burch basically says that he's back. Lorcan just kind of says that they're going to take back the titles that they never lost, which I think is nice to point out because that is a fact, right? They lost based on Burch's injury.
Yeah, which was, no surprise, Karrion Kross's fault.
Right. Holland quickly adds that anyone who steps to this group will get hurt. And finally, Pete Dunne tells Lorcan and Burch to not just get the titles back, but to end MSK tonight. Burch then, as they're sort of walking off, kind of rudely dismisses Mackenzie, which I thought was one of the more interesting parts to this. What did you think of this little promo?
High bar. I feel like they feel the need to say every week that Birch is back because they know it doesn't matter and people probably forgot. It's like, oh, I'm back, even though he returned like 2 weeks ago.
You might have forgotten. We say it every week. I'm very memorable.
Does he have to? Do they have to mention every week? It's kind of weird. I also don't like this faction ton because in this segment, I feel like Dunn just kind of feels like a hype man speaker. Like, he's like, go get your titles back, and MSK, and like, with Holly is like, go and whatever. It's like, I don't know, it just feels weird, and it doesn't, I feel like that doesn't line up, with him.
With the Dunn we know. Yeah, I would
Dunn,
agree.
yeah, and he should be on his own murdering everyone.
I agree. And I'm trying to give this faction a chance, because kind of on paper...
I don't think that'll be necessary.
It has, right, it has on paper, it has kind of all the things you need.
Except for Rich Holland.
I thought this was pretty generic by all of them, right? Like, yeah. Birch, to me, seemed like the biggest heel in the group because he was mean to Mackenzie.
But, like, that's pretty basic, even. Like, that's pretty, like, anyone could do that, right?
Nothing special, I thought, we'll say. So then we come back from a commercial to footage from over the weekend of Indy Hartwell's bachelorette party.
You know what's really sad?
At a restaurant. What?
You know, I wrote part 1 of question mark for this.
Oh, yeah.
That is really sad.
Because Because
they are so set on their stupid 3-part format that I thought this was going to be like that.
We only got 2 this week, right?
Well, they're kind of separate, but also kind of.
And the second one was super long, like awful. The length of 2 or 3 put together.
Both suck.
But anyways, this first one, they're in a restaurant for the bachelorette party. Candice LeRae's there, Kaden Carter, Casey Catanzaro, Mackenzie
Some
Mitchell,
randoms as well.
Yeah, several other women that I did not recognize.
There's the one probably someone from the Performance Center, but
probably
no one I recognized.
Indy is talking to the group about being lost before Dexter Loomis came into her life. She then quickly toasts Candice and thanks her for always being there when she needed her. Candice then gives a speech, goes on about how she didn't really approve of Loomis at first, but now she realizes that Dexter really loves Indy, and that's all she can really ask for.
Because she's obviously pregnant, but like she did say she wants to kind of stay on. So this is like
she's staying on TV as long as she can.
Sucks, but she's here.
She's still there. Yep. So Casey and Kaden seem to be busy on TikTok, I think it was, right? And
that made me just die inside.
And are kind of ignoring Candice as she is toasting Indy and Dexter. And then when Candice is done, she and Indy hug. Candice tells her that Johnny will likely be much harder to win over. And Indy then starts to wonder what's going on at Dexter's
what
bachelor
could they
party.
Be doing?
I wonder if we'll find out.
I wonder if we want to find out.
Of course, at the end of this, Candice says that she may have some spy gear left over, I guess from spying on Indy and Loomis, I assume, which she was referring to.
I guess.
And then Indy and Candice walk off to end the segment, presumably to go spy on Dexter's bachelor party. But who knows? We'll find out. What did you think of this?
How could you possibly trust them? Why would you, if you're Dexter, why would you be with her? You can't trust her. I mean... This isn't something you need to keep a secret, but what if there is something you need to keep a secret, and she's just like, oh, I'm gonna go see what he's doing, and then he's like cheating on her or something.
But I think it's like the idea she's just innocently curious because she's a child, basically. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm trying.
You shouldn't, probably.
Probably, right. Somebody
this was lame. Indy's host was whatever, as was Candice's. The random people were blah, and I hated the TikTok bit. That was just stupid.
Did. In the moment, you definitely did.
The ending was so stupid, and why the hell does she have spy gear? I know that it's from that previous segment, but why the hell does she have that in the first place? That's just so weird. It doesn't make sense. But if there's one happy takeaway from this, is that even though Beth Phoenix is the biggest Index supporter and helped Indy out on multiple occasions, she still wasn't invited to the bachelorette party, which makes me very happy, because afterwards I saw her on commentary, and then I was like...
Trying to explain it away a little?
Oh, she's not there, and then that was so funny.
Literally had the wedding ring to give to Indy
and
to propose.
Gave her advice,
and has been the biggest cheerleader, and she's like, nope, can't make it.
That
wasn't invited.
Funny. It would have been even funnier than if Wade Barrett gets invited to the bachelorette party. Right. That would have been funnier.
So this didn't entertain me much, really. Unfortunately, same thing at this point. I was like, this isn't going to be the last one, and it wasn't. It was kind of short, I guess. I thought Indy had an amusing line or two, but again, I'm just not interested. This feels like they're forcing me to watch a cartoon in the middle of my wrestling show, and I don't particularly love it. But It's not as bad as Impact's Wrestle House, right? But it certainly isn't good, I don't think. It's
walking the line.
And it's not good, and it gets a ton of TV time. That's our issue as well, right? If it's a quick little segment every week, probably don't care that much, but it's 3 medium-sized segments. Anyways, let's move on.
Or one, in this case, one medium-sized one and one super too long one.
There's more to come. So
yay!
We move into our next match, which is Carmelo Hayes taking on Santos Escobar, which also on paper looks like a pretty good match, right? I thought.
Yes.
Yeah. Escobar comes out with Wild Mendoza and what is it, Elektra Lopez? Is that right?
Jobber del Fantasma.
So Elektra Lopez is her name. Escobar quickly overpowers Hayes in the lockup, and then he opens the ropes and sort of like gestures that Hayes should leave the match, kind of like this is your last chance to get out of this before I kill you kind of idea. Hayes gets control of Escobar's left arm, hits a nice Hurricane Rana, and Escobar has to escape to the floor to get a break here. Hayes then goes for head scissors takedown, but Escobar kind of drives him face first into the mat with the counter, and then hits a splash to Hayes' back that I thought was a pretty nice combination. Escobar's taunting Hayes some more in between a bunch of stomps and kicks. Then we get a DDT after what I put was like a shrill whistle. You know how Escobar like whistles?
I love that. It's
interesting.
He's really good at it.
Roosh does it too.
He's really good at it, and it's really just like it's just kind of...
It kind of adds something, right? He does that and hits a DDT. It's
just kind of interesting. Yeah. Or like when he's like running really fast into the corner and he hits like a clothesline, and as he's running, he does like the little whistle.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hayes counters a German into a pinfall attempt and a kick to Escobar's face. Hayes' pump kick sends Escobar to the apron, but it leads to Hayes being knocked off the apron into the announce table. Not like a major falling through it, just kind of like landing and running into the edge kind of thing. We go back to a commercial, and Escobar applies a lion tamer before driving knees into Hayes' lower back. Running corner clothesline by Escobar and a back elbow, then running double knees to the chest of Hayes, and Escobar places him on the up top. Top rope Hurricane Rana by Escobar for 2. He goes for a crossface, and Hayes tries to avoid it. Back outside the ring, Hayes' head is driven into the steps. Escobar applies a lion tamer on the steps. I thought it looked kind of cool. You were wondering if it added anything, but it was a neat
really
visual.
Add much, but yeah, it's a good visual.
So he's continuing to target Hayes' back at this point. Hayes then gets a kick and a reverse springboard leg drop to stop Escobar's momentum once again. Springboard, 180 clothesline, and running knees by Hayes. Twisting cutter by Hayes for 2 I thought looked pretty good. He goes for 1 too many springboards, and the final one ends up with him taking a pretty nice looking high knee from Escobar. Code breaker by Hayes a bit later, and a slingshot DDT onto the apron. Hayes ends up on the floor after hitting Escobar with his DDT, and Elektra Lopez body slams Carmelo Hayes on the floor as a little bit surprised, and the ref missed it. Hayes then rolls into the ring. Escobar immediately hits the Phantom Driver for the distraction win. At least it wasn't a roll-up. He gets a clean pin off the Phantom Driver. Escobar wins. Your thoughts?
I thought it was a solid TV match. I didn't love the finish. It was kind of textbook WWE.
It really was.
At least Jobber del Fantasma kind of looked cool with that.
Yeah, I was surprised by the slam. I liked it.
I guess it saves Hayes a little bit, but I don't know. I'd almost rather than lose clean because I guess like Escobar is good, right? Like yeah. So I feel like this kind of it doesn't really help anyone that much. And I would just rather decisive win. I do hope we get Swerve versus Hayes also because that'd be really cool. And so a bit of fantasy evoking. I'm thinking after this, out of spite, Hayes will kind of cash in his contract on Swerve, but then Escobar won't like that and interfere, and then we triple threat this.
That's actually possible.
Which adds a baby face to this heel feud.
Messed
up
situation.
And also, I like them all.
Yeah, that's possible. I think that could happen.
Book it.
Yeah, book it. I thought this was a good competitive match too, and like you said, like a good TV match. I think that's pretty perfect. They probably could do even better if you need them to, and if it's WWE, right, they tend to love the like even Steven, so you would think Carmelo might get a win somewhere along the line, or at least something like you're suggesting. This isn't probably over, and I get that they didn't really want anyone to take a clean loss here, but I found the finishing sequence kind of lame too. It's just a bit of a standard cop-out, right, because you don't want someone to win clean, which AEW doesn't really do that a lot, right? I mean, there's interferences and things, but in terms of just a distraction win, I don't feel like it happens a ton. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the match was pretty good overall. Hayes continues to look like he's got a bright future, right? And Escobar, I was telling you, I feel like I'm afraid he's a guy that could get released in the next round of cuts, just not based on him not being talented or awesome, because I love him and so do you, but he's not young. He's not huge.
He's not even one of their guys.
And I have a feeling he makes a decent amount of money that is kind of the bottom line right now. If they don't see you as a main event superstar and you're not young, then it's kind of get out of here. They don't see you
being on the main roster.
So I'm a little afraid, but it also opens the door for him to go somewhere else. But hopefully I'm wrong and he stays and he does well.
Yeah.
We then see Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter backstage warming up for their title shot that's coming up. And we go to a pre-recorded video from the weekend where Malcolm Bivens announced the Creed brothers would be on tonight's show. He hypes up their amateur credentials, both college wrestlers, I think it was, and basically says that Diamond Mine forever. Roderick Strong welcomed them to Diamond Mine and said the real work now begins, because I guess they're getting their first match is the point. So I don't know, it was kind of brief, but what'd you feel about it? Any strong feelings?
No, I thought it was fine, but man, dude, these guys look boring and unhealed.
They really do. They look really bland.
They just don't. It doesn't sell it for me.
Yeah, I thought this was fine, and I think it's smart to have Bivens do the talking for these guys, right? Like, it's not Roddy's strength, and it's probably not going to be rookies who with an actual wrestling background. They're not there because of their personality, right?
And especially not because of their looks.
Right, so yeah, I thought it was fine, and Bivens does a good job generally. So we're then back from the break, and Mackenzie is backstage with the general manager, William Regal. He basically announces a fatal four-way for next week with the winner earning a title shot from NXT champion Samoa Joe. So it's going to be Tommaso Ciampa, Kyle O'Reilly, LA Knight, and Pete Dunne.
Woo!
So what are you thinking for this match? How do you think it's going to go, and how do you want it to go?
Pete Dunne.
You think it's going to be done?
Pete Dunne.
I don't want it to be done. It's actually, I specifically have that in my little reaction here.
Pete Dunne.
Just because I feel like whoever wins this doesn't really have a chance at ending Joe's reign. So I don't want it to be done. I want him to be built as the legit, oh my God, he could actually win it. And I don't feel like that's what's coming out of this match.
Yeah, but he could still win.
He could, but I feel like I'd rather it be, I don't know, LA Knight.
No.
LA Knight as just a
No,
fill-in.
I think it should be Kyle O'Reilly, because they could do an easy babyface respect thing, because it's probably not going to be a takeover match anyways, right?
Right.
And also Kyle O'Reilly's good and LA Knight's not.
Basically, I feel like it's going to be what we've started calling a placeholder challenger, and I don't want that to be done, right?
Although I feel like they could have done go now as like a first go round and then revisit it.
I guess.
But either way, Pete Dunne.
Could be a fun match, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hide LA Knight's weaknesses. That's the only part of this I don't really care about.
Yeah.
And I guess like kind of all of them are kind of on a hot streak except for LA Knight. No, he just beat Gargano, actually.
That's right.
So, I mean, I guess, because they are all coming off of wins off of big
That's why I was going to ask you, do these guys all deserve a shot?
I guess Dunne beat Dragunov, who I guess is now the NXT UK champion.
That's true. That's a feather in his cap, as we like to say.
Kyle O'Reilly beat longest reigning NXT champion Adam Cole.
Knight beat
Ciampa beat Ridge Holland, which I guess that's probably a weak win.
In their eyes, that's not though, right?
Okay, so he beat Ridge Holland, and LA Knight beat Johnny Gargano, who's like one of NXT's best. So I guess that's kind of and they were all involved in that promo segment, so that's the main requirement.
Next we get the Creed brothers, who generic looking guys come out for Diamond Mine.
It's Julius and something else.
Julius and Brutus.
Yes, they looks. I just wrote like first impressions off of their entrance and whatnot. They look so lame.
They're brand new,
plain
much.
Black singlets, boring faces. One of them is wearing only one knee pad, like an absolute maniac. Like, no, wear one or none. That? No one does that. Like one or none, dude.
They're facing Paxton Averill and Chucky Viola. Household names, right?
Jobber name generator right there. Am I right?
And the brothers do look rather generic, but then the match starts, so we'll see what happens here. We get a big uppercut from Brutus. He picks up the Jobber and just drops him over the ropes to the floor.
I think Brutus is the one who
No
looks
offense
really
to the Jobber,
warm.
but I didn't even make a note of which one was which, so I don't know whose name is whose. I know their names, I don't know which one's which.
That's fair.
Belly to belly overhead by Brutus. He tags in his brother. Quick fireman's carries by the brothers. They each kind of take a turn. And then we get I just put a unique suplex by Julius because I didn't quite know what to call it. And I didn't describe it.
I feel like I remember now.
The brothers...
I feel like... I don't remember what it was.
Pick up their opponents and slam them together and drop them, kind of like the Super Collider.
Yeah, I was going to say
but body slam, not power bomb. Power bomb's way cooler, let's be real.
Right, because like they kind of just threw him. Like you can see, Super Collider was a cool move.
It was cool.
It was kind of like that. It was kind of like you have him like the body slam position, like World's Strongest Slam position.
Yep, and then just chuck him.
And then which I mean it was fine, but
it's cool.
It was like
Julius,
Collider,
this is how good I am. Julius picks one of them up. I don't know which one. Pick one.
I'm gonna pick the Paxton guy because his name's dumb.
He just heaves him over his shoulder, slams him again. I don't quite know what it was. Some sort of unique looking power slammy thing.
Great description.
Right?
Unique looking power slammy thing.
That's why we get paid the big bucks here, because we are amazing.
We earn what we deserve.
Then yes, we get your money's worth. Hit hard sliding clothesline, and he picks up the pinfall. What did you think of the debut of these generic looking lads?
They looked dumb.
And how did they perform though?
Oh yeah, it was like a sideways slam. I know what you're talking about now.
Because
I actually made a note. Remember?
Go ahead, Excalibur.
It was. Thank you. It was a sideways slam thing where he looks like he breaks his neck. So like, okay. So picture like this, right? He's gone like kind of like on his shoulder for like a spine buster, kind of, right? And then like he runs and then kind of like turns over and like kind of lands on his head, almost like he's gonna do a cartwheel.
It looked pretty cool.
While slamming him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad description. It's just you gotta pay attention.
It gets a little better than mine, but unique looking slam, pretty solid. Chef's kiss.
Well, it was a unique looking slammy thing. Okay.
Right. Slammy Medoodad.
It was certainly a dominant showing, at least. But they kind of just acted super angry and did a bunch of random like throwing moves and whatever. It was fine. Like they didn't look bad, but it wasn't like super interesting to me. And it's like it doesn't really feel like anything special. Like they certainly don't look like anything special. And I don't know. This was a fine dominant showing, but didn't like really impress me that much.
So we are gonna have to agree to disagree because I thought they looked pretty awesome.
I'll have to wait a little more, I guess. But
they definitely don't look great walking out. Like they're big dudes, obviously, but they're not very interesting.
They did look good. It's just
not a ton of charisma.
It doesn't really feel new or anything like that.
I thought they looked like super aggressive. Their stuff looked stiff, and they had an array of like nasty looking suplexes and slams in this little squash match. Like, I think this was a really strong squash match because they looked like killers to me. So I think this was a really good debut.
That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Right, and some squash matches don't, right? But the point is, these guys, I thought they looked pretty awesome here. And I don't know if they can do a match longer than this at this point or whatever, but there's certainly potential there because I thought they looked really good. They have to develop their look and their character for sure, but for now...
I don't think you can do much about their looks. They're kind of born with those faces.
Or they're going to do, like, the world's greatest tag team and the other one that was just like them in NXT that I can't remember their name. American Alpha.
How dare you? American Alpha was awesome.
They were amazing, but they weren't at first. That's what I'm saying. So I'm hoping these guys... I thought they looked good, so we'll see where it goes.
Well, they should have been amazing. Chad Gable's like a mini Kurt Angle, and Jason Jordan's like
Kurt
Angle's son.
They were
Remember?
Awesome. Right. Natural. So Io and Zoe Stark are shown warming up as Io walks away from a frustrated-looking Stark here. Back from the break, just sort of teasing there's sort of not...
I always find it weird when they're like standing around, just like jumping and working out, and like with the flag behind them. It's like no real person does that.
They're not real people. A shame. Back from another break, and Mackenzie's with Ember Moon, asking her about tonight's rough loss to Kaylee Ray. Moon says,
a pretty good loss, actually.
Moon says, I thought so. Not just tonight, but it's been a rough few months. She says she and her partner lost the titles. Then she lost her partner.
Well, I would consider losing her partner a good thing.
And she's lost every match in between. Moon says it took Kaylee Ray to wake her up, and she doesn't want to feel this way anymore. Moon knows what she has to do, so stay tuned, and she walks off. Your thoughts?
She said it took Kaylee Ray to wake her up. I have a theory. They're roommates.
Because you're taking it literally?
Yes.
Woke her up?
I thought this was fine, I guess. I feel like it was a little better than some of her other promos.
Yeah.
I guess she's going to change yet again. I feel like she hasn't been in this current gimmick for long. Like, I feel like she debuted on a takeover last year, but it was, like, pretty late. I think it was, like, actually probably, like, a year ago. So, that's not super long in wrestling,
it almost feels like a bit of an attempt at, like, anti-hero. A little bit, like she's just
I don't know if that'll work, because she's just...
I don't either.
Because I feel like you need promo work for that. Like, Austin did it, Becky did it, fine, right? Like,
Sami Callihan's doing it.
Sure.
He's actually doing a good job.
Moxley.
Yep.
And so I feel like that won't work, and I feel like she doesn't really work as a heel either. I feel like she's fine in this role.
Yeah,
so,
I think she could be a heel with someone talking for her.
Yeah, but I don't know if who you could do.
I don't either.
Don't fix what ain't broken, I guess?
No, not really.
She could... No, she wouldn't fit in Dynamite. Never mind.
No, or,
who would
Robert
fit in
Stone?
No. Oh, you know who would have fit in Diamond Mine? Sonya Deville.
Yeah, she would have.
Or Baszler.
Or Mandy Rose. Just kidding.
I hate you.
The look of anger on your face.
Baszler would have been... Because Baszler's, like, not the best on the mic.
No, she's not.
As much as I love her.
She could use Biv, and she'd fit perfectly. Because she's legit.
Yeah, haha. Bring her back. Haha. Yeah.
I prefer Ember speaking like a real serious person, so I thought this was better than what she usually does too.
A real serious person.
It felt like less of a cartoon character and more of an actual person with thoughts and feelings than she sometimes comes across. So I like this probably as well as anything she's done on the mic, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. So I'm wondering, like we're saying, like, is this a heel turn?
Hey, off the top of my head, that's my thing.
A heel turn it is. It will be shortly. Or some other character change, it feels like, right? So
I guess that's probably what it is, but... Oh, no. Fantasy booking, it's a new theme.
Maybe. She might get one. You never know.
Because
next week, everything changes. This is the last normal... No, sorry, not normal.
Normal. Normal. Because this is normal. The good NXT is normal.
Right.
No, because her current... She should go back to her old theme. The old theme was good.
I can't remember anyone's theme ever. Hardly. It's weird.
Name one you remember. Go.
Hit Row.
Good job.
Thanks. So speaking of Hit Row, they're in the studio with words for Legado del Fantasma.
Oh ho.
We get a Hit Row. Swerve says he can't even be mad because he should have seen Elektra coming. Because I guess what did she do again? She interfered or something in his match? Is that what it must be, right? Of course. He says Hit Row won't be caught slipping ever again. They say he who last laughs best. They start throwing around insults that I struggle to keep up with while I'm taking notes, so you're just going to have to trust me.
No, I have one rule in pro wrestling. Bray Wyatt always laughs best. His fake laugh is amazing.
And then they say they're applying pressure. Michael Scott's. Okay? Steve Carell.
That's true, but...
is an amazing fake laugh.
I'm talking wrestling.
BFAV says that hitting her with the pipe is not how you say hello, and now they have a problem.
They don't know how she says hello, okay?
Thoughts? True. Like, I mean,
they can't assume.
They're going process of elimination. They don't know, so now they know, okay, not hit her with the pipe.
If they didn't know, now they would know.
Next one might be stab her with a knife. Maybe that's not saying hello either. Cross it off.
Maybe attack her with a fork, like Abdullah the Butcher style?
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to say they're not playing the odds very well, but anyways, what'd you think of this?
There's a lot of ways. But, I mean, yeah. I thought it was another good promo from them, and they remain cool thanks to their unique style. And I really like the background music they chose. I thought
me too.
Fits them well. I do like their kind of a studio setting for things like this.
The whole vibe, as the kids say, is good.
The whole vibe,
right? It is, I guess. I thought it was cool too, but I think they kind of need to move on from this feud in the near future. And also, if they could establish themselves as heels, I would be really happy too.
Yeah, because they're so much better as heels. And this feels like it was at the beginning. It felt like it was supposed to be Escobar and Swerve, and we still haven't gotten that.
It's kind of starting to feel like we're getting slightly different versions of the same thing most weeks with these two groups, right? Like, I'm all for a slow build and stuff, but I just feel like we're kind of spinning our wheels instead of taking little steps forward.
Right,
you know?
There's not much progress, if any.
Right. We then get Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter getting their title shot at Io Shirai and Zoe Stark for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. Catanzaro early on uses her quickness against Zoe Stark. We get a backflip into a head scissors by Catanzaro, but Stark also counters it and flips out and sort of lands on her feet. That was a cool little segment. Io and Carter tag in, and they kind of mimic the same sequence. One gets an advantage on the other, and then the other one basically does the exact same thing. As the previous two did. So they tag in, do the same sequence that Stark and Catanzaro did, and then we get a drop kick to Io, because Io sort of was stopping to yell and taunt Caden Carter a little bit here, gets drop kicked. Codebreaker out of the corner by Io to Catanzaro. Stark's back in, she overpowers Catanzaro. Carter makes a hot tag, hits a drop kick, splash combo, and a kick to Stark's face that I thought that combo, that little hot tag bit looked pretty good. Spinning kick to Carter's head by Zoe, 619 by Io, and a PK to Catanzaro before Io goes up for a missile drop kick to get a near fall. Io applies a crossface to Caden Carter, but she releases the hold to punch Carter and hit an Irish... she Irish whipped her, hit a big punch, and then started stomping her, which I think was a bit more aggressive Io than usual, right? Like, she gave up a submission to just beat on this girl some more, which I feel is like a new little wrinkle for Io maybe.
It'd be funny as if an Irish is whipping someone with an Irish whip.
That's where it came
from.
An
Irish whipping someone with an Irish whip. That'd be funny.
Funny. Blind tag to Catanzaro. They hit some tandem offense on Io. Something like, I think they called it a wheelbarrow moonsault. I think the moonsault part was a bit generous, but maybe. German suplex by Io, running double knees. Zoe tags in, argues with Io a little bit because we have to sort of get across that they're not on the same page. But Zoe still kicks Carter in the head. Another miscommunication here. Zoe ends up knocking Io from the apron to the floor. Carter with a series of kicks to Zoe before a tag to Catanzaro. Assisted splash to Zoe, but Io missile drop kicks Carter into the pin to break up.
Yeah, the assisted splash was really lame.
It was okay. She definitely got a little higher, which is the point.
Yeah, but
it was just a splash.
She's really small. Yeah. 2, it's not
as
different,
impactful,
and
for sure.
3, she's doing a splash.
So the finish comes when Stark hits her finishing kind of like knee strike where she flips her opponent onto her knee. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I forgot that was her finisher because
awesome.
She hasn't really had to use it because she lost a lot and then now she's in tag matches.
Right. So I think that looks cool and it sets up Io to hit her moonsault and that seems like it's going to be their finishing combo. Earns them the victory here and they retain their titles.
It's fine and all, but it's kind of lazy to do that.
Combine them both. I think if it works, right? Like if one sends you to the mat
sometimes
in the right
you have
place,
to force it, right? Like sometimes it's kind of forced, but I remember when Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton were teaming together. It was so lame. You know how like Bray Wyatt has him for the Sister Abigail, right? He would like do that, but then just throw them up into an RKO. Like he doesn't even really do anything.
He's not adding anything.
Right.
He's just delivering him to the other guy.
And I guess like this is kind of lazy, but like it's like also. I guess you wouldn't expect them to have a tag finisher yet.
And if they time it right, it could be cool, right?
Like if Io should have already been on the top turnbuckle. Yes. I guess she had to tag in.
Like make the tag and in your 5 seconds hit the knee and Io comes off right away.
Yeah, or like, and I guess you can't expect them to have a tag finisher, which is why they just do a finisher spam.
Yeah, I like it. But after the match, we get Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane come out. They attack the challenger baby faces, ? Catanzaro and Carter, whatever they are.
Yeah, they're baby faces.
Attack them on the ramp, and Mandy is currently wearing a protective mask after getting her face kicked off by Saray last week. What'd you think of this match?
I thought it was a fine team match. I guess I didn't love it too much.
Yeah.
There's nothing major. I'm starting to think just Carter and Catanzaro just meh. Because other than that one good showing against Kai and Gonzalez, who are good, they haven't impressed me a ton. So like
they're hit and miss for me.
Right? Like, and I think the one hit was that one match.
Yeah.
And so far as a team, Shy and Stark, they're both good. But they've just been fine as a team so far. But I guess there's like a growing room, I guess,
for sure.
so to speak. And the aftermath was whatever. Mandy looks really dumb. And I guarantee she doesn't actually need it, unlike Sheamus, Cody Rhodes, Trish Stratus, anyone else who's worn it. I guarantee she doesn't actually need it. And I thought Gigi Dolan looked kind of weird trying to be angry.
It didn't work for you?
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed this more than you did. I don't think it was perfect for sure. There was a part early on that annoyed me because it was basically like Carter has an arm wringer on Io and then she tags in Catanzaro and puts on an arm wringer like that. And then it picked up a little bit. And we talked about this while we were watching it, right? Some of Carter and Catanzaro's offense requires their opponents to stay in places that don't look natural. Like they have to lie there a little bit longer or stand in this spot for this, right? So there's a bit of that.
You remember Otis's Caterpillar, right? Like he'd do the splash and then they would stumble forward and then just flop on their back. Or like this was Carter had both of them in the corner and then like she took out Stark and then she just like so convoluted lied like right across the corner. There was one other one too. The drop kicks and
there was that bugged me a little bit.
But it's just like I don't know. Io was lying for something.
Yes,
might have been the splash thing, but just like if you're really real, then you would like actually move.
And it can happen once in a while, but I don't need it multiple times in a match.
Especially when it's like super blatant.
I still like the match. I thought it was pretty impressive by both teams. I liked the finishing combination. We talked about it by Zoe and Io.
Yep.
And Catanzaro and Carter, I was mostly impressed with them in this match. They don't impress me all the time. But I thought this was pretty good. The miscommunication stuff between Io and Zoe, they're going to keep dragging that out. It's going to lead to something, I'm sure. The attack after the match, whatever. It sets up a thing between a couple mid-card teams, right? So go ahead. They got to have something to do. Mm-hmm. So that's fine. Kyle O'Reilly's in a training ring sort of talking about the difficult last 12 months. and how he's closed a chapter of his career and life at NXT TakeOver 36. He says it's freeing not having to give a damn, and he doesn't care what it takes, who is footing a bill, or if he makes it to his next birthday, because his goal is Samoa Joe. It's not about the title.
He's willing to die?
I guess.
Like, that's kind of overkill.
It's not about the title, but what it represents. Kyle says one obsession ended at NXT TakeOver, but another one begins next week.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid promo from him. The match, we do get a few of these. He's definitely getting better, but he's still not, like, great on the mic.
Yeah.
That is fine.
I didn't love this, to be honest. I think it's awkward because he's talking about, like, this other chapter's closed, but he can't mention Adam Cole anymore, right? So that's always a bit awkward because he's gone, and you can't, God forbid, once they're gone, they're dead, right? So,
right.
And
AEW, what's that?
I don't find Kyle believable as the guy who doesn't care anymore. He seems to me more like a guy who cares a lot, right?
Right, because he's literally a pro wrestler. Like, he's like the most pro wrestler guy they have.
And some guys can pull this off, but I don't think his character he needs to play something that seems natural to him, and I don't think this is it. So something about what they're doing with Kyle right now doesn't work for me. He's still awesome in the ring, but I'm not connecting with this version of him. So you ready? Here we go. It's the Dexter Lumis bachelor party, and my goodness, did they put 1,000 times more effort into this one than the women's, right?
And it was just slightly better.
So Johnny Gargano,
right off the bat, one of the people in that Lumis invited is a zombie referee from the haunted house match last year. Like,
so
really?
I'm gonna preface this. This was a lot. So we watch the wrestling together, which I think is something unique that our podcast offers, because I don't think there's too many podcasts where multiple people watch everything they talk about together. So this segment was a lot of me laughing and my son giving me dirty looks as he would turn to look at me, right?
Which is weird because I'm a 14-year-old person. You are a
I know
40-something-year-old adult person.
So let's talk about it. It's Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, Drake Maverick. Corrected in my notes as Dark Maverick. Maybe it's like it's Pentagon Dark. He's going evil.
Yeah, nope, they're foreshadowing a heel turn.
And Odyssey Jones, they're heading into a limo to the bachelor party with the zombie referee.
But Odyssey Jones
still makes me laugh.
That's just stupid.
It is stupid.
Like, it doesn't make sense. The Odyssey Jones kind of doesn't really make sense for me because, like, he hasn't been in NXT for a while, and Lumis isn't exactly a friendly guy, so, like, it's kind of hard for me to believe that, like, if Odyssey Jones is here.
That's what you're worried about in this? Is what, like, there's a lot of things that are hard to believe in this. But, yes, the man has never spoken a word.
Like, a freaking zombie referee. Like, that's just not okay.
And Grimes, as you said, must now have made peace with the zombie referee.
Yes.
Because they're there together. That's nice. Gargano wants to know who's paying for this. And he's not paying for the wedding either. And Cameron Grimes sort of shows up and reveals that he's funding this night that these guys are having.
I wish he wouldn't.
Gargano doesn't get it because he should hate Lumis, and Grimes said that he found out money can fix anything. So that's the quick fix of that problem, I guess. Lazy. Gargano and Lumis agree to a truce for this one. So it's just, that's kind of weak, right? Like, oh, money can solve anything or whatever, and we're fine now. But anyways, Grimes...
This whole thing was weak.
They go to a go-karting place, and I think Grimes puts $10,000 grand prize. And, of course, we cut to seeing Candice and Indy spying on them as they race. Johnny wins the race. Then they go to do axe throwing. And I laughed at this when they asked if anyone has experience with an axe. Dexter Lumis raises his hand. That's funny. I don't care where you're from. That's funny stuff.
He raises his hand like
because the idea is he's like a serial killer, or he's like hacked people up with an axe. That's comedy, baby.
Not good comedy.
Anyways, they all try axe throwing, and Odyssey Jones gets one. Lumis is the closest to the middle, obviously, with his axe experience, and Johnny can't throw it at all. So Lumis, sort of without saying a word, comforts Johnny, gives him a couple tips.
It's like the classic love story thing.
And he helps Gargano.
That wasn't bad.
Gargano can suddenly throw an axe now, so of course they're coming together here. Drake is then, they're in a trampoline park, and Grimes bets Odyssey Jones $10,000. He can't send Drake to the moon, so Jones takes the bet and sort of launches Drake Maverick, I guess.
That was lame, and also he didn't send him to the moon, so Grimes wins.
But then it picks up, because the final event is laser tag.
I was unaware.
And it's Lumis's group. as a team, and they take on a team of just random people that I guess are at the laser tag. So Loomis, I guess, misunderstands how to play laser tag. So the first one time he knocks out a guy and Gargano just kind of walks up and then zaps him to eliminate him. Then Loomis a little bit later chokes another one, and Johnny kind of, again, same thing, sees the guy lying on the ground and just shoots him because he's an easy target. And so it kind of carries on until the last member of the other team, surrounded by the bachelor party crew. Everyone sort of gives up, the guy gives up, but he gets shot by Johnny Gargano anyway. And then Johnny finally goes to high five Loomis, and the zombie ref starts to speak, revealing that he's Canadian, which I don't know.
Offensive.
So Johnny's hand then does get knocked into Loomis, and they're doing the way high five thing. Indy and Candice show up, perfectly timed, excited that Dexter has...
And he's like, you cracked Johnny's nut.
That's right, cracked Johnny's nut.
I guess supposed to be a weird turn of phrase.
So they do a group hug, and Johnny is now excited about the wedding, and Loomis almost kind of smiles. Go ahead. You get first crack at this.
Oh, do I?
You do.
I guess this is better than the bachelorette party, not a high bar.
No.
I still had some issues with this. The general presence of the zombie referee is just dumb. Like, it
Funny.
just doesn't make sense. Especially if that same referee is refereeing matches. Like,
somehow for this, I was just able to be like, this is silly enough that I can
after
just...
criticizing the stuff, it does not make sense.
I'm just trying to be honest.
Some of the humor spits were either overdone or just kind of basic or not funny. It was too long as well, and then the ref was suddenly not a zombie, and they managed to throw in an inaccurate Canadian stereotype, like, for no reason. Like, that's just stupid. I don't know if I've ever gone, like, blah, 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 in my life. Like...
No, we don't do it as much as we're alleged to do it, but...
There were a couple spots that were funny, and hopefully after the wedding, this can all be over. I guess this turns Johnny face, but not really...
I think so.
Not in an ideal way, I guess.
No, in a comedy way, which is never the best for your, like, career arc, right?
Right, yeah, he's kind of screwed if he's comedy babyface, because I feel like the comedy heel, that's kind of different, especially, like, what he was doing. So,
I agree with you. Way more effort put into this one. I like the way it was shot. I do think it was too long. They could have cut out the trampoline part, frankly.
Or everything.
Or a couple things. It's not anything I need in my wrestling often, but I have to admit, like I was telling you guys, I found parts of this amusing, if not funny. Loomis choking people out in the laser tag was funny. The whole axe throwing experience was funny. Like, was this segment ridiculous? 100%. Of course it was. But did I find parts of it fun? Yes, I laughed like multiple times. So I can't say I hated it, but it's not something I regularly need in my NXT.
I don't think I've ever needed it.
Kind of funny. No, overall, I'm not a fan of the way the way has turned out, because for a while we thought it was kind of cool, right? But
the way.
I laughed at this. I'm not gonna lie. So then we get Boa. He walks up to Mei Ying and says it's time, in a little quick vignette we get, because her first match is coming up next, but it's not, because Frankie Monet and Jessie Kamea are next. They're mocking Index's wedding invitation when Robert Stone runs in all out of breath. He reveals that he heard from Regal's office that next week, Frankie Monet will get her title shot against Raquel Gonzalez. Frankie says everyone will be talking about her and screw Index. She'll be the next NXT Women's Champion.
Yes, screw Index. I agree.
What'd you think of this and the potential match to come?
A mess segment to announce a title match next week. And they're really starting to get into a bad habit where they start a feud and the match is like the next week or like 2 weeks later to make the match really feel unimportant. And it really doesn't help, especially if it's a title match and the challenger is already unbelievable. Like Raquel Gonzalez, Xia Li, like MSK, Bertrand Lorcan, like stuff like that. It really doesn't help. And I guess MSK, Bertrand Lorcan, that kind of makes sense. But like this, like Frankie Monet's bigger than that, and and her and Gonzalez could carry like a short-term feud. I'm not saying it has to be this long drawn-out feud, but it should be like put some effort into it.
It reeks of placeholder challenger.
It reeks of placeholder challenger, and it reeks of laziness. Like, just put some effort into it.
So I had the similar reaction, right? A match with Gonzalez this quickly means that Monet's not a serious contender.
I mean, I'm not.
It's almost sending the opposite message that they're hoping, right? Her being pushed this fast, it means you're not serious now about her. Doesn't mean you're not ever going to be.
Then, like, even if she's losing,
you'll build something.
If it's more important, you build it longer, right? And I feel like she's one of the ones who could have a chance, and this just kind of eradicates any chance.
I guess it could be the start of a longer title chase, but I doubt it.
But that's not right. Yeah, that's not usually how these things play out, right?
And I would love for Monet to sort of get away from this group and go out on her own, but it seems like this is where she's placed right now. So next we get the in-ring debut of Mei Ying as she's taking on Virginia Ferry, right? Yes. So Ferry goes in to attack right away, but gets punched in the throat. Ying then strikes and kicks Ferry, delivers another throat chop. She does a little bit of her posing and gesturing, and then a cartwheel. I think it was just into a forearm. She grabs Ferry's throat, drags her down with like the Tongan death grip, and then sort of pins her on the mat while holding that hold still, and wins a squash match. Any strong feelings about this one?
This was just a few strikes and a lame finish. I have nothing to say other than this was lame. And what's the point of this? Where does this go that benefits anybody?
Agreed.
Like, how is this going to work?
So I thought, like, I loved the tag team squash match tonight. This one I thought was just kind of okay, like decent, but nothing exciting. Didn't this feel like Su Yung a lot to you?
But
as
like,
someone who watches
worse.
Impact. It's
like,
very
I thought
similar,
Su Yung
though.
was good, though. Like, and,
Me too.
She's not literally like a soulless being.
No, but like the paint and the look,
I guess,
and
but
the
she's
movements.
been allowed to lose in one. I feel like this is just like, I don't know, it just doesn't work.
We'll see how this goes and how, like, my question with the way you're presenting her, same as it kind of was, even more so, I guess. Like, how is she going to be believable selling or losing in the future? How does this
right? How's this
being,
like,
whatever she is,
they
sell a drop kick or something?
Right. I keep saying like soulless beings. That's what basically what they kind of put her as is in that introduction package.
Yeah. So I don't see this gimmick lasting very long, but I could be wrong. LA Knight is then driving around Vegas and cutting a promo about how it's championship season, but it's always championship season for him. He talks about his number one contenders match next week and how some NXT fans don't want him to win, but they're going to be crying because he'll slap around 3 of their favorites and go on to face Samoa Joe. What'd you think of this?
I thought it was a standard promo from Knight. It doesn't help that he's the least likely to win out of the 4 in the match, but it was still fine.
I liked this. I felt like he was a little bit more toned down because he couldn't, like, run around and, you know what I mean, yell as much because he's just driving in a car. So I kind of liked it. He felt, again, like less like a character and more like, I said this a few times, an actual human being, right? This felt a little more natural. I kind of liked it. We then get a promo from Ciampa about how he's motivated and he has 2 goals. Take out Pete Dunne and earn an NXT championship match by winning next week. And when you want to slay the dragon, you gotta chop off the head. Goal number 2, and he just basically says Goldie, right? And then he does he like gets up frantically and darts off, knocking his chair over. Thoughts?
I like this better than Knight. I thought it was a solid promo, but pretty standard from him. Like again, we hear from another challenger in the thing. It's
Ciampa's standard promo, right? So it's fine. He's always intense and believable, but it's basically they're doing the same thing. Whether he's with Thatcher or not, it's kind of the same thing for him right now. Then we then get the main event, which is the NXT Tag Team Championship match with Lorcan and Burch trying to get back the titles they technically never lost, facing MSK. And this, I said this when it started, right? When they're sort of standing face to face as they're introducing them and going over the titles, it looked like 2 teenagers are about to fight their uncles, I thought, in this one. Because it looks like Lorcan and Burch are like 15 years older than these guys, basically, at least, right? Yeah. But anyways, so Burch, I thought was interesting. Right near the start of this, he gets a welcome back chant, right? Which is interesting because A, it's a heel, and B, it's Danny Burch, no offense to him.
And he's been back for like a couple of weeks.
He's a fine wrestler, but I didn't know he had made that connection with the crowd. Right. Anyways, Burch and Carter start out with holds and counters. We get a bunch of athletic escapes and a couple low drop kicks by Carter. Lorcan comes in. He works on Carter's arm until Carter escapes and tags in Wes Lee. Kicks and a stomp to Lorcan by MSK. Slingshot senton by Carter. We get some clearly piped in sound in the middle of this, which annoys me greatly. The heels isolate Carter until a springboard corkscrew cross body and a tag to Wes Lee. Tandem offense by MSK as they take control of the match here. After a commercial break, Burch has a chokehold on Carter, so things switched up on commercial. Belly to back suplex by Burch. Lorcan comes in with chops and uppercuts, lands a suplex and some mounted strikes. The heels then isolate Carter in their corner again, jumping knee by Carter, and both men finally tag out. Lee back in with a flurry of kicks, a running forearm, a high kick, and a German suplex with a bridge for a near fall. Tornado kick by Lee looked good. He tags in Carter for their assisted, like, shoving moonsault for a 2 count. Carter hits a moonsault to Lorcan on the floor. Lorcan gets his knees up back in the ring on a Carter senton, hits a chop block, and applies an ankle lock as Birch sort of ends up putting Lee in a submission at the same time. So both the faces locked in a submission here.
It's that classic spot they did in the DIY revival matches.
Right. An homage to that. Lorcan's
I'm sure.
Lorcan's arm dragged into the corner by Carter, who then super kicks Danny Burch. MSK then hit their finishing tandem blockbuster thingamabobber to Lorcan and retain their titles. As the heels stand in the ring after the match, disappointed in their loss, Holland suddenly, because they're joined by Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland, the whole group's there. Holland suddenly headbutts Danny Burch.
I must say, his headbutts are just... They look lame.
And Dunn kicks Lorcan in the head before feeding him to Holland for his finisher. One more headbutt for Birch and Dunn, and Holland leave, having turned on their partners and clearly exiled them from the group.
Oh my god.
What did you think of the main event and the aftermath? Go.
I thought it was a solid TV main event between two pretty good teams. It didn't help that there was a predictable outcome, but it was still a good match for what it was. As I start to notice them more and more, the crowd pipe-ins get more and more annoying.
Oh, for sure.
There are a couple of times where I'm actually noticing it. It's just, for a while I've been pretty oblivious to it. I've been happy because it's like I don't notice it, and now I'm starting to notice it.
And compared to AEW's amazing crowds everywhere, right?
I was so happy to hear the Adam Cole baby.
When you hear loud cheering and you see nobody moving in the crowd, it's kind of off-putting, right?
The aftermath was somewhat surprising as they were a relatively new faction, but I see that as a very good thing.
Yeah, probably.
For Pete Dunne, that is. And I believe this is merely step one in Pete Dunne ditching his loser faction and returning to solo glory. Soon Ridge Holland will get dropped and Dunne shall stand alone. And I surely believe that Dunne could kick Ridge Holland's ass any day of the week, so I would not be afraid of a one-on-one match.
Nice.
Between them.
I thought this was a pretty good match and exactly what you would expect from these two teams, I think. My one thing is, now that I've seen MSK a lot, it seems like they wrestle a very similar match, right?
I've started to notice their unique offense. It's the same few things every week, like the strike combo and the stomp to the back, the push over moonsault, the assisted corner drop kick, their finisher.
I just find one of them's in peril for a long time, makes a hot tag, and then we sort of repeat, right?
Yeah. Because I remember at first we were saying it's cool, they can both do hot tags. Yeah. But now it's they always do hot tags. They always
at least do one. And then this is super wrestling nerd levels, I apologize, but they continue to tag back in far too quickly after being beaten down. And you know what I mean?
Right, you need some downtime.
It's basically they tag out because they're dying, and then their partner hits one move, and then they tag back in for a combo move. I don't know. That being said, they're fun to watch, right? That's pretty undeniable, I think. Their fast, high-flying style works really well with some of the, I call it, more meat and potatoes offense of Birch and Lorcan. So I think that kind of works well. I don't think we got, when Lorcan goes on one of his, super mega high-speed stretches, I don't think we got one of those, and I always miss that.
Has he done that recently? I feel like that would work better as a face. I love when he does that.
I think it looks awesome.
Yeah. He used to be cool.
He did.
They both used to be cool. I feel like their heel run worked better when they had McAfee, because McAfee was a good talker.
Yep, he was.
I missed that faction because the brand, they were never called that, but they should have been.
So we called them.
That had potential, and I think McAfee's SmackDown commentary is not good enough to justify him, not coming back to NXT.
And he actually did okay. I know he did okay in that match he was in, too. I mean, people raved about it, but I thought...
one?
Whatever the one where he was doing things.
Cole or War Games?
Well, I think War Games it was. People thought he was good.
Pretty good.
That was his first thing,
He's okay in the ring, but I preferred him as the heel mouthpiece.
Anyways, I thought this was a pretty strong main event, and as for the aftermath, I was trying to give Dunn's group a chance, but I'm fine with Dunne and Holland sort of trimming the fat, I guess you could say.
Jack is always right. See, you didn't need to give them a chance because
they didn't. It was a waste of time. Yeah, nobody else was.
Exactly.
Lorcan and Birch seem like they could easily be in the next round of releases too, right?
Which sucks because I really like them, but
and you have to have.
How can you argue them staying?
You have to have people for the young people to beat. If it's all inexperienced people fighting inexperienced people, it's going to be painful.
And certain people are going to, suffer as a result. You're going to be making some people look good, but you're also going to be, burying under some other guys.
Yes, but they have to learn from somebody in the ring.
And I think
them, right?
these guys would be good. But, like, just from a Vince standpoint, they're not super, like, they're not his type of wrestlers. They're, like, they're wrestlers.
Yes.
They have no personality or character.
No.
Like, Vince is probably going to take one look at these guys and get rid of them, which sucks because they put on good matches, and you're right, they do have...
You gotta have... They fill a role.
They have a role, right? Yep. They're kind of like the Cassius Ohno of the tag team division. Yep. That's insulting to Cassius Ohno, but...
overall thoughts on the show and a letter grade. Go.
The opener was fine, but Kaylee Ray should have gotten more because that was probably her match. Dunn's group's promo was fine, but can't imagine it matters. The Bachelorette party sucked hard. Hayes vs. Escobar was a fine TV match, but I was hoping for better. Yeah. I'm being honest. I thought the Creed Brothers debut was fine. I didn't like it as much as you did. Ember Moon's promo was fine. Somewhat interesting, but not really. I like Hit Row's promo once again. The women's tag title match was fine, but nothing super interesting.
Right.
The Bachelor party was fine, and I just want the storyline to end my suffering.
That's fair. It might next week, but probably
Speaking of suffering, Mei Ying's match was just nothing. Like, I don't care about the Tian Sha stuff anymore. It's not interesting.
No, it didn't add anything, I didn't think either.
It's weird, because... You were so hopeful at the beginning.
Oh, the vignettes and the story and stuff was cool, and it is hard to work into like a realistic wrestling show, though, for sure.
Right, and especially Mei Ying. And the main event I thought was pretty good. Overall, fine show. Couple major things I didn't love, so I'd say it was a B, just kind of in the middle.
Nice. I thought it was a pretty enjoyable episode. In ring, Moon, Kaylee Ray was good.
The last episode of the good NXT?
Possibly. I thought the opener was good, but for me, again, it showcased the wrong talent, even though Kaylee Ray did get the win. Escobar Hayes, I thought, had a really good TV match, despite the kind of lame finish with the interference. Thought Creed Brothers looked really good. Tian Shaw's squash was less impressive, for sure. I really enjoyed the women's tag match and the main event, so I thought in ring a pretty good show. Segment-wise, Bachelorette Party was pretty uninspired and not really entertaining for me, but the Bachelor Party, despite being too long and some parts weren't good, did have some funny parts, I thought. Kyle O'Reilly's promo was a kind of a miss for me, but LA Knights was better than usual. Hit Row did their usual cool stuff, and Ember Moon cut a good promo for her. If the way stuff were shorter or missing, then this might have been an A-range show for me, because I enjoyed it. Even with those segments, I still enjoyed the show. Thought the in-ring stuff was pretty good. So I gave it a B+ this week. This is the end of the pre-recorded episodes, and we get the new and improved NXT. So
of course,
here's hoping it's good.
Improved?
Well, that's what they're new. So I should have done air quotes, but people can't see it. New and improved, quote unquote.
Yeah, and
hope for the best.
The wedding is the same week as the week they ruin NXT.
Well, I think that's not a coincidence.
No, I think not.
That is not a coincidence. They think that's a draw, and maybe it is. Maybe we're the weirdos.
No, it's a draw for the casuals, or
yeah, I think that's right.
The same idiots who think Shotzi Blackheart is talented.
All right, so on that note, let's transition into our weekly trivia segment that we like to call Off the Top of His Head. And in honor of certain events, recent events, we're going to talk some Adam Cole trivia.
Woo!
And I did this one myself, all by myself. Didn't get it.
Is there a non-WWE Adam Cole?
There's a bunch. I'm all over the place with this one. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what is Adam Cole's real name?
Austin Jenkins.
Correct. How old is Adam Cole? Or do you know his birthday? I'll take that too.
His birthday was recently. Damn it.
It was in the summer. How old is he? Take a shot.
34.
32 years old.
Damn it.
1989. As a child, Adam Cole took lessons, well, I guess it would be Austin Jenkins, took lessons in which martial art?
Taekwondo.
Karate. Good guess. In which federation, often known for extreme matches, did Adam Cole train as a young wrestler?
CZW.
Correct. Which stands for?
Combat Zone Wrestling.
Correct. Which WWE icon does Cole cite as inspiration?
Shawn Michaels.
That is not the one I'm referring to, although that might be true.
Bret Hart.
Nope. This one, it could be, but this one they actually had a quote from him. An Attitude Era giant.
Big Show.
Not giant, literally. Giant star power. Or the other one.
Billy Gunn.
No. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The quote was, I remember when Stone Cold's music would hit and he would come to the ring and 20,000 people would go insane at his every move, I would go, that's the coolest human being on the planet. I thought he was the coolest. So something about like
Billy
he didn't
Gunn.
watch wrestling or something, but his karate instructor did, so he accidentally started watching it and then was like blown away by it.
Imagine if that didn't happen.
Right? How many times has Adam Cole held the ROH World Championship?
3.
And that is in fact correct, and more than anyone else in ROH history.
I knew that.
True or false? Adam Cole never won the ROH television title.
True.
False. He won it once.
Damn you, Adam Cole.
Who did Adam Cole defeat to become television champion?
Bobby Fish.
Close.
Marty Scurll.
No, Roderick Strong.
Oh, cool.
Right? Who was Adam... This one's hard. They get easier because I know you know all the NXT ones, so I went back. Who was Adam Cole's tag team partner when he became an ROH tag team champion in 2012? It was kind of an odd...
Matt Taven.
No. Not
Mike Bennett.
No, Eddie Edwards.
Cool.
It was he and Davey Richards sort of switched partners, so they defeated O'Reilly and Davey Richards.
Odd.
Right. How many other promotions can you name, other than AEW, NXT, ROH, that Adam Cole has worked for?
New Japan?
Correct.
CZW?
Correct.
PWG?
Correct.
Evolve?
Yes, he did. The only other one I have is... Sorry, do you want to guess another one? And there might be even more, but I have a list here.
No, that's it.
Dragon Gate USA, I think he briefly was there too. Cool, very good. After the ROH Championship was vacated in 2013, how did Adam Cole become champion?
By winning.
Winning what?
The title.
How?
Pinfall.
No, in a tournament. They put together a tournament was what I was looking for. Who did he defeat in the finals of that tournament?
Kyle O'Reilly.
Canadian boy in a lot of trouble lately.
Oh. Joey Ryan?
May or may not own a cottage at a lake that we have frequented.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Michael Elgin.
Correct, Michael Elgin.
I was trying to remember his name.
Here's coming to, as they say, your wheelhouse. Ready? When did Adam Cole make his debut in NXT?
NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 in 2017.
Correct. Who did he attack when he made his debut?
Drew Galloway.
Drew Galloway. Oh, nice. You got the right name and everything.
McIntyre.
Following weeks of attacking other teams, the Undisputed Era was put in a War Games match at NXT TakeOver War Games. Who did they face? List each member.
Sanity, Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane.
Correct.
And Roderick Strong and AOP, which is Akam and Razor.
Correct.
And they won when Adam Cole pinned Eric Young.
Told you this was your wheelhouse. Cole was the leader of the Undisputed Era in NXT.
No.
Who were the original members of the group and who was added later? Easy. Fish in a barrel, as they say.
Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and then they added Roddy.
That is correct.
Strong.
True or false? Adam Cole is a Triple Crown champion in NXT.
True.
True. Off of that, who is the only other Triple Crown champion?
Johnny Gargano.
That is correct. True or false? Adam Cole has the longest singular title reign in NXT history.
True, baby.
How many days was the reign?
392.
Close. There's actually 2 acceptable answers. Apparently, it was actually 396, but the WWE recognized it as 403 due to some tape delay stuff. So I would have...
Interesting.
I thought so. In what year did Adam Cole...
Let's go with the longer one, because that makes him sound better.
In what year did Adam Cole join New Japan's Bullet Club?
2014.
2016, pretty close. Who did Cole battle for within the Bullet Club for sort of leadership of the faction?
Omega?
Yes.
Yeah.
When the Bullet Club kicked Cole out, who did they replace him with?
Skrull.
Correct. I don't like his name being on here, but I needed a question.
I thought you like him.
I liked him before all the stuff came out about why humans shouldn't like him, probably. Before signing to WWE, Cole/Jenkins worked with the company briefly. Can you elaborate on that?
What?
So he was, before signing with WWE...
Yeah.
Okay, elaborate.
He was in a Straight Edge Society segment with Serena at a bar.
Yes. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it was
I was confused for a second and then I remember. 2010
episode of SmackDown. He played a man at a bar drinking with Serena Deeb in a Straight Edge Society segment.
Right, and
you know why?
Because she actually did that in real life.
You know why?
Why?
WWE apparently had offered him a tryout that they didn't mean to offer him. they actually meant to offer it to Austin Watson, who is Xavier Woods. And so as an apology to Cole, they offered him a spot in this segment.
Nice.
As an
I remember because this was like what happened in real life because she didn't keep up kayfabe because that was a thing in 2010.
Right.
Like,
in what year did Cole compete in his first Royal Rumble? Only Royal number? I couldn't remember if it was.
I'm pretty sure it's his only
I think so too, but I wasn't.
2018. I know
2018 is correct. 2 more questions. Who eliminated him from that Royal Rumble?
Rey Mysterio.
Correct. You ready for the last one?
Yes.
And you know what the goal of the last question is? It's the goal, if you're new, is that he doesn't get the answer to the last one. So we end with him not knowing. Ready?
You're just such a good person.
You're going to love this one. In a tweet from 2012,
what?
Adam Cole said, quote, "It's official. My first dog will be a blank."
What? How is this
You say
fair?
you're an Adam Cole fan.
How is this fair?
It's funny.
What? Can I Google it?
No.
What? You're
so
cheating?
Take a guess. What kind of dog?
Do I have options?
No options.
What?
You should know.
Why?
It's 2012 tweet. So you were 5 years old.
Labradoodle.
Rottweiler. It's like you don't even like Adam Cole. You say you like Adam Cole, but I'm not convinced.
How about we quiz you and we see how that goes?
No. So anyways, that's going to bring us to the end of our Off the Top of His Head segment and is going to bring us back to talking about some wrestling pretty in-depth. And that will be this week's edition of AEW Dynamite.
And we kick things off with Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes.
Yes, we do.
Who it feels like he's been wearing the same face paint for a year, which is weird because he used to change it up like every time.
Yeah, and it's been pretty, I see, that's a detail you would remember. I trust you if you say so.
Yeah. And so description, it was a fairly one-sided affair with an expected outcome. It was like pretty much what you would expect.
See, I didn't think it was what I expected, but anyways, I'll talk about it when you're done. Go ahead.
An inverted atomic drop and a boot to the side of the face by Rhodes. German suplex by Rhodes. Boot by Black followed by a backdrop suplex through the timekeeper's table. Black exposes the turnbuckle while Rhodes is still recovering on the outside. Kitchen sink knee by Black, which is like kind of that knee to the gut.
Right.
Knee bar by Black. Rhodes gets a rope break. Black targets Rhodes' leg with kicks. That's kind of his target throughout the match.
And they look good too.
Black goes to Irish Whip Rhodes in the corner, but the leg gives out. Drop down uppercut and a scoop slam for 2 by Rhodes, kind of his signature offense.
Mm-hmm.
Crowd count punches by Rhodes, but it gets interrupted, and he hits a kick to the back of Dustin's knee. A running pump knee for 2 by Black. Black grabs Cody's boot and tosses it to Dustin to kind of piss him off.
Right.
Pretty nice Canadian Destroyer by Rhodes for 2.
It was.
Finish comes when Black avoids a bulldog from Rhodes out of the corner, sends him in an exposed turnbuckle, and hits a not great Black mass for the win.
No, it kind of was a shoulder, and then Dustin's bleeding from the mouth despite getting kicked in the shoulder. Which I
would even say like elbow.
Interesting.
Almost.
The match, I guess it's not what I expected because it was more competitive than I thought. Like Rhodes dominated quite a bit to start this match, right? And then Black took a while to sort of put Rhodes away after methodically attacking his leg, which I liked. But then again, Black did say, right, that he was going to make Dustin suffer. So, but I feel similarly to this like I did about Kaylee Ray and Moon match, but not quite to that extreme. I don't think the match was bad, but I don't think it showcased the right person enough. Like Dustin got a lot here. I thought it should have been laid out that to make Black look more dominant and like sadistic, right? Where he could be pinning Dustin, but he just keeps beating on him and beating on him. That's kind of what I wanted to see. I think this made Dustin look good, but I don't think that was the point, right? And it almost was like he's on a very similar level to Black in terms of in-ring, and I don't think that's the message they should have sent either. I think, and honestly, like Black basically needed to cheat to win in this as well, right? Which
is like Rhodes is old.
He shouldn't have to do that against Rhodes. So again, it's one of those like it was a fun match to watch, and out of context, it's probably a good match, but I didn't love the way it played out. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, so I thought it was fine when we opened the show. Another good showing for Black for the most part. Not a bad match. Not an ideal choice for an opener. The Black mass in this match is a rare misstep, but other than that, nothing super wrong with the match, I thought, as Black continues his path of destruction. Next we got a quick promo from the Lucha Bros, new tag champs.
Yeah.
If you want to go check it out, if you haven't already, we did put an All Out review. We did. Very nice show.
Yep. Great show. Very strong
and
show.
All Out was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Phoenix says they are finally the new tag team champs, and Penta says, translated afterwards through Alex, of course, the titles cost them blood and tears, and anyone willing to suffer is welcome to try and take them. Very nice line. I thought it was a good and quick promo from the new, very popular champs, and I look forward greatly to their first defense.
Yeah, I like this. It sounds almost like they're doing an open challenge with I like the added thing too of anyone willing to suffer.
Which there's a lot of good team options, and especially the open challenge leaves it open to anyone, right? It doesn't have to.
And it's honestly, I was thinking it's been a while since heel teams, you know what I mean? So there could be, because now we've got the babyface champs. I think
we're talking about that, right?
I would suggest FTR get in there somehow.
Ooh, yeah. Or if we're doing an open challenge, just to throw their name in the title mix for once, Proud and Powerful.
For sure. Oh. And I would even if that's what I was thinking, if they were heels right now, that would be probably my
even
top
if they're
choice.
Faces, I would take that as a one-off match, just to say, hey, they're an important team. They were in the title picture.
Well, and that's the
thing.
They
don't need to win it right now.
As much as I'm critical of their rankings and win-loss records, that's what it opens up to you, right? Is you can be look at their recent record, they've earned a shot regardless of.
And I don't think Proud and Powerful should win right now, because I think Lucha Bros, they deserve this.
They need a run, for sure.
Right, they definitely need a run. And AEW is not a promotion to, do these short reigns. I feel like, other than Brody Lee, I think, was the only really short reign.
Right.
They've done, Shida had a long run.
Yep, very.
Mox had a long run.
Omega's going to have one. Miro's going to have one.
Omega's been reigning for a while. Miro's had a decent run.
Bucks.
Even Darby Allin.
Yep.
Bucks, obviously, yes. Omega and Hangman.
Yep.
Even Jericho, even the shorter ones have been decent length.
Kind of makes Cody. Their titles feel a bit more
prestigious,
right? I like it
kind of like NXT UK.
Yep.
So I think Lucha Bros will get a decent reign, but I think you have to go to Proud and Powerful down the line. It has to be them.
They're hot right now.
I think the only short tag title run might have been FTR. Theirs wasn't super
was not long.
Which I mean, then opens them up for a run. I think long down the line, but eventually.
Which Jim Cornette swears is the Young Bucks and them keeping FTR down. That you basically brought them into your company to not let them be as successful as they could be.
I don't think that's true.
I don't either. That's Cornette.
They've done good for themselves. Yeah. I agree. Maybe their run wasn't the best.
He's basically you brought them in to win one match and then you book them to lose every match, because Cornette really likes FTR obviously because they're old school.
Yeah,
and anyways, carry on.
He probably likes them for the wrong reason.
We don't need to give Jim Cornette too much oxygen, to be honest.
Who? Next we get I thought it was a Kingston promo, but it was another one of those Eddie Kingston then Miro promos, similar to what we got before. Yeah, I don't mind this. I like these, and also the ones where it's back and forth, kind of.
Me too.
Which I think they did with Power and Powerful and FTR.
They did.
Where
they're actually in the same space, right?
No, it was the one where they're two different promos, but rather than this where it's one promo and then another, it's they're slicing in between the two promos.
I'd like that too.
So Kingston speaks first. He talks about how All Out was the biggest pay-per-view for pro wrestling, and he and Miro kicked it off. And he says if you know anything about God, it's that he has no favorites, and basically he treats every man the same.
Right.
Miro says Kingston says they would go through hell, and he'll offer Kingston's soul to his God, and this is the word of the Redeemer. What did you think?
Both of these guys cut pretty great promos, right? And it looks like a rematch is coming, since Miro had to cheat to win, and I'm really okay with another match for these two. I like the idea that Miro is basically doing the open challenge thing every week until there's major opposition like Kingston to put in a longer program, right? I really like how they're treating this championship. Challenges all the time that have no build, but then when there is something to build to, you sort of pause that and go with the build, so I like how they've been presenting it. I like these promos.
And Miro's presentation has been an upgrade.
Amazing.
I mean, he was doing pretty good at the beginning because he was affiliated with Kip Sabian, but this is better.
No, he's fantastic right now. I find him super interesting.
I'm calling it right now. Kip Sabian's going to dethrone him. Yeah.
I would give you really good odds and bet against that for sure.
Yeah. Another pretty good promo from these guys. I thought I'm open to another match, maybe with a little spice on it and the form of stipulation. I could see them adding this to the stadium show.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
Maybe even some sort of like plunder match. I don't know.
I would take that. Yeah. I feel like they both lend themselves well to that style.
And it sort of balances out, like Miro's super dominant, but Kingston will do any sort of shortcut and use anything. And
Kingston, that kind of, especially after the cheap finish in their match, that there's a reason to book that, and that also kind of evens the odds for Kingston because Miro's his dominant force, right? And that style would kind of lend itself to Kingston.
Right, it'll make up the difference for Kingston.
Exactly.
Sort of thing. Yep.
And then Miro can't like take the easy way out if he wanted to.
Right.
Which I don't think he would, but if he wanted to, right? It kind of takes out that option.
Yep.
Next we hear from CM Punk.
We do.
Punk says they'll get right to it, and he thanks Darby and Sting and the fans. That's what we're getting right to.
So as it started, I put weird. We hear the crowd cheering, and we can actually see them cheering. This is not true of every promotion right now.
That's kind of weird. I mean, I thought
it was
normal,
cheering.
Like, I thought the NXT crowd's just really good at standing.
They're clapping
still.
with their feet, I think, is what they're doing.
No, they're all wearing they're all wearing tap shoes, and they're just going like that.
So you can't see them moving, but they're doing it.
They're tap shoeing.
And when they chant, it's because they have it recorded on their phone, and they're all just their phones are in their lap, and they just push play.
And some of them are wearing masks. So like,
I'm sure it's all organic for sure.
Right, of course. He says he didn't know what it would be like, but it was like riding a violent bike. Oh, what?
I don't even remember saying that, but interesting.
He says Minoru Suzuki will be facing hometown guy Jon Moxley in a match he is interested in as a fan. Okay. He asked who watched the pay-per-view. I apparently a lot of people. I think it's supposed to break some records or whatever.
Yep.
And he runs down the debuts. I would like to see him versus Moxley for one, because Moxley's like one of my favorite guys ever.
Yep, that'd be good.
He says his wife, and then everyone's like, yeah! Because, like, it was funny. They cheered every time he mentioned the debut, and then he says, my wife April, and everyone's like, yay!
Nope, not coming.
I mean, it's possible.
I don't think so.
She asks what's next, and he says he doesn't know. I'm going to say AJ Lee. And he says he'll ask the fans, and then he says he hears mostly Moxley chants, yes! And then Taz thinks that's a good time to interrupt, and to that I say no thanks. Taz says he's known Punk a long time. I'm curious from what?
I feel like he actually got mad when Punk was like, don't ever interrupt me again. I feel like Taz, like, he's obviously probably just really good at acting, but he seemed pissed off, man.
He says he's known Punk a long time and he's tired of the love fest. Taz says Punk was impressive, but he shouldn't ever mention Team Taz again. Like you said, Punk says, don't interrupt me.
Yeah.
It says because he's known Taz a while, he tells Taz to send his guys and beat him if they can, survive if he lets them. That sounds like an Undertaker thing.
It's a line from somewhere. Yeah. I know it is.
Thoughts?
I loved Taz when he got super angry. I thought
Taz
he was
good.
Awesome.
I think he's in a perfect role. He
felt real there, right? Like I actually bought that he's annoyed at being told not to, because Taz thinks he's a tough guy, and he is.
He's old,
right? So it's almost like Taz kind of hates or is jealous of Punk's connection with the crowd, and he just can't wait to interrupt him, right, and stop sort of the love fest that's happening. So I like that. I thought this was like a really good, sounds lame, but like a really good pro wrestling segment. Nothing super fancy, just
really good pro wrestling segment.
Two good talkers setting up like probably what's going to be a string of matches, right? He might work his way through Team Taz.
Which is only really two people, because I don't think Hook... he did wrestle on Dark, but...
But I think this seems like the right level of talent for Punk to sort of feast on to pad his record until whatever's coming next for him, right? And Team Taz never wins anyways, really, so it shouldn't really matter to them if they lose, right?
Yeah.
So I thought this was good.
Mm-hmm. I thought a solid promo again from Punk. I thought Taz was pretty good as well. I think this is kind of a bit of step down from Darby Allin.
Oh, 100%.
I can't imagine this was on his list.
This is like just pad your stats till we figure out what's next.
Yeah. But Starks versus Punk at least could be good. I don't really care about Hobbs that much, because I feel like he kind of had prospects, and then he joined Team Taz and kind of got cooled down.
He did.
A bunch, and Hook doesn't wrestle a ton, and I don't think they would want to lose to Punk. I feel like he's mostly like padding his resume on Dark.
I think so.
Because I did see that he wrestled on Dark. I think a lot of people can agree, however, that there are more interesting matches than this, namely Moxley.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would work, because that would have been a big match, and Mox doesn't really need to win that.
Right.
Maybe they'll save that for Full Gear, I guess, because that's a while away, and I can't see Mox really doing anything else.
No, that's probably fair.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have a quick promo from Proud and Powerful, aka Santana Ortiz. I'm still going to call them Proud and Powerful.
That's fine.
I think it's a good name.
I know what you mean.
It's a good name.
It is. They just sort of dropped it for some reason, right? Seems weird to me.
It's not even like it's because it's heel. I feel like it could work because it's like Proud and Powerful, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it would work no matter what, I think. Right. I don't
know. So Santana says they're shifting their focus to the rest of the division after beating FTR. Everyone's on notice, which is weird because their series is tied, but
right,
whatever.
Details.
Ortiz repeatedly shouts we're the best, like he used to do that when they were heels, and it was quite amusing. So
it was.
And then Santana asks anyone to prove them wrong.
Yeah, I like this brief, intense promo. I think Santana, I like the combination of him doing most of the talking and then Ortiz just like the unhinged guy there just yelling, right? It works for me. I think they deserve more attention. We've been saying that in the tag division.
It's just not great timing because I think the Lucha Brothers...
Exactly. That was my next thing. It's just too bad they're not heels right now because them against Lucha Brothers would be amazing. But with
the open challenger there, we were saying...
Yeah, it's possible.
They could just do a one-off match to have just to remind everyone Proud and Powerful are in the mix.
Yep, they could still get there somehow, right?
Right, and I don't think they're going to beat the Lucha Bros. I think it should be a heel team, and I don't think we have to worry about that for a while. But... they should at least get a match in, at least, even if it's just on a Dynamite.
Yep.
Or whatever.
I like them.
I thought it was a good promo as well. And I assume and also kind of hope FTR will have an issue with this, saying that they moved on.
Right.
Because it's tied. They're like, we need a third match. And
I would hope, and I'd be down for that.
I think we do need a third match.
I agree. I'd watch it.
Next we get an interview with Ruby Soho. Britt Baker does interrupt pretty quickly, though. Baker says Ruby will be irrelevant after Hayter beats her, and Baker will retain her title. Ruby says she's known Baker for a while. I don't know from what, but I guess. And Baker calls herself all these nicknames so people don't see what she's not. Baker says another name for her is the Women's World Champion, which that was a good comeback.
Fair point.
And insults Ruby's nickname, the Runaway, and tells her to run away to catering, where she spent the last 4 years.
Oof.
That was a sick burn.
That's like you've been doing nothing on WWE for a long time,
that
basically.
Was a sick burn.
It was good.
Baker signs off with her D&D line. I thought Baker was really good here. I really liked her lines. Too. I thought Ruby was good as well. And that was a sick burn.
I like getting a little bit of backstory, right? Like, they didn't go into detail, but at least this whole, they know each other from previous things, which I liked. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty nice back and forth with a good insult from Britt. I agree. So a pretty realistic interaction between people, which I always like in my wrestling. So I like this.
Yep. Next we get a Will Hobbs versus Dante Martin match, which was basically just a short and handsome match where both them kind of got to look good.
Yep.
Some notables, body tackle by Hobbs pretty quick off the gate. Martin flips over Hobbs and drop kicks him out of the ring. Hobbs kind of catches a suicide dive while his feet are still in the ropes and sends him into the post.
That was a crazy looking spot. They did it really well because it feels like a lot of things could go wrong there, right? Like Dante perfectly hooks his feet, the swing into the post. I thought it was a pretty innovative spot. I don't think I've seen anything quite like that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Then Hobbs sends Martin into the barricade. Multiple knee drops by Hobbs, just kind of like the kind of slow part of the match where he's just beating on him.
Yep.
Giant top rope shotgun dropkick for 2 by Martin. Just got a real big jump on it, which no surprise from him.
Not at all.
Martin hits a tope con hilo to Hobbs, jumping over Hook, who was trying to interfere on the apron. Rope step boot by Martin. And the finish comes with a big spine buster, not a powerbomb like they said 3 times.
It's crazy.
By Hobbs for the win.
And I think they got it wrong because Excalibur's not here, right? And this is where, I don't know if you picked up on it, at some point commentary told us that Excalibur's away to get married, it sounds like. So he was missing. I think he's the best commentator in the business, so he would not have called this spinebuster a powerbomb. Right. I firmly believe.
And then we get a quick post-match. It seems pretty unrelated, but it was right after.
Yeah. So
I just kind of lumped it in.
Right.
We get a balcony promo from Dan Lambert with Men of the Year standing by. He congratulates AEW for all the recent acquisitions, and he says no matter how hard they try to cover it up, they can't hide that they only have 2 real men wrestling for them in Paige and Sky. And he invites anyone who thinks they can shut them up to try before they take out AEW by spreading their truth.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's what's going on here.
Thoughts on match and other thing?
I thought the match, I enjoyed it. It was a classic speed versus power match, right? And Hobbs is trying to slow it down and ground Martin and annoy the crowd in the process because he's the heel and the crowd's there to see Martin fly around. And then that obviously strategy sets up the flurries of Martin showcasing his ridiculous athleticism, which is definitely the case. So I enjoyed the match. Hobbs winning kind of makes sense because he's likely going to face CM Punk in the future, so trying to build him up as somewhat credible before Punk beats him, I guess, makes sense here. And then the Lambert promo, I thought some of his heel logic makes sense. He's basically suggesting, like, Tony Khan keeps hiring all of these new talents, and that's sort of forcing him to ignore some of the amazing talent he already has, right? Kind of pointing out...
That's not wrong.
Pointing out issues that I'm sort of talking about in the news earlier. So his example, obviously, is the Men of the Year. So I didn't love that Lambert was mocking the size of Cole and Daniel Bryan here, but he's kind of representing the old school guys like Cornette and Vince, so I kind of get it. It's still not my favorite size.
Just because that's not really the mentality anymore.
No, but I think he's representing that mentality and is sort of to be a heel and to be made fun of.
But like, I still don't like it just because, like, I don't know. It's
unnecessary, but at least there's a point to it here. He represents people that feel this way.
And he's not someone who actually believes that, right. I assume.
And again, Ethan Page in no way needs a mouthpiece, so I hope he still gets some time on the mic at some point. Still, I thought the segment...
Sky's not a bad speaker.
He's not. I thought the segment was good, but they need to get into a concrete program or feud at some point instead of just
Men of the Year versus Lucha Bros.
That would be fine.
Hell yeah.
Yep. What did you think of this stuff?
I thought it was a fine and short match. Another showcase somewhat for Dante Martin, and he's fine losing because he doesn't really seem like he's going anywhere right now, right? And he seems to be getting a good showing in defeat, right? So I think he's fine. And I thought Hobbs was pretty good as well.
Yeah, he played his role fine.
The Lambert promo was more the same, but it was still good and better than his promos before joining with Men of the Year. And I agree. I don't think they really need him.
No.
I feel like he should have grabbed, like, I mean, if they have the MMA background or whatever, I guess it makes sense, but I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Maybe
I'm just happy.
Angelico?
When he was bringing in non-wrestling talent, I was annoyed, right? Yeah. But if he's going to just be helping talent already on the roster, I'm okay with that. Yeah, Angelico's, I don't know if he's MMA, but he's trained in various fighting things. Or something
martial arts, right? So that could tie in, because TH2 could use a method.
I agree. I think there's teams that need him more than Men of the Year. I still kind of like their pairing so far, but I think there's other things that...
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot, because I do kind of like it. It does kind of work, but all at the same time, I would rather Paige speak.
Anytime he can speak, I want to hear it too, right? So I hope he still gets his chance.
Yeah. Next we got a Matt Hardy Orange Cassidy promo. Hardy says he's going to shave Cassidy's head. That's basically the gist of his line. And Cassidy follows up by saying, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fine promo, and I wonder where it could possibly be leading. I wish they would make it a little more obvious so I could get some sort of clue. Like,
why? What do you think it is? Hair versus hair?
No clue. That's weird. No.
Are you being sarcastic? I can't tell right now. Yes?
It would be a hair versus hair.
But where did this obsession with cutting the hair come from?
I have no idea, and I don't really care.
There's been no explanation. So, again, Cassidy's predictable response, obviously, and still made me laugh, though, but I just don't get where this obsession with cutting Cassidy's hair came from. Maybe they're going to provide us with...
Maybe he's jelly.
But it just seems kind of random so far. But anyways.
I think he's jelly of Cassidy's hair.
And now Cassidy's stuck in a thing with Matt Hardy. So his time at the top of the card is definitely over for now.
Yep. I didn't think it was going to last that long.
No.
Next we get a promo from MJF.
And the crowd is right away chanting, "You tapped out" to him, right? They're just all over him the second he walks out, which is great.
Right. MJF says prior to All Out, he beat Jericho 3 times, and he beat Jericho 4th time, fair and square. But MJF says the match was restarted due to bias against him, because everyone in the back wants to be him. And he says he doesn't expect the fans to understand because they are from Cincinnati.
Yeah, so one thing I'll say about, how I complained about the other refs, in hindsight, they were out there already to try and break up Hager and Wardlow from brawling, so at least they added that little detail, right? So the refs are already there. It's not like they came running from the back.
That's a fair point.
So that helps me a little bit. Okay. It still annoys me because it never happens, but
no, that actually kind of makes sense. Then I didn't think about that. Because
I think a couple refs came down to break them up, and then happened to see what actually happened, and it was
that makes sense.
It's like in baseball, one ump can ask the other ones if he thinks he missed something, right? He can consult with the other umpires to get the call right. So I guess that little detail makes me feel a bit better about it.
Yeah, for sure. MJ says Cincinnati is the biggest dumpster fire in the world. And he says it's called Midwest because everything is mid, and he sold Cincinnati stuff.
So he single-handedly, I don't know if it's already a thing, he sort of made the word mid like an insult here. Because I don't know if that's in young people culture already an insult. I haven't heard it. So he was just
calling...
it
might just mean mediocre or whatever.
It does. So he's kind of making it an insult, which I like, right? Everything there he talks about is mid, and he sort of emphasizes it.
Yeah. MJ says if they have a problem with him, they should jump the barrier and he will beat the life of every one of them, but they won't because they're cowards. He insults Linda, who's somebody.
It's she raised Brian Pillman after his dad died, I'm pretty sure, was the connection there.
And he also insults the girl next to her who speaks and turns out to be Brian Pillman's daughter, so I guess Pillman Jr.'s sister.
Right.
MJ insults her and out comes Brian Pillman Jr. Pillman says he hears MJF is talking trash about his hometown and his family. Where did he hear that from? That's kind of weird.
MJF would never do that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like MJF.
Not at all.
Pillman says Cincinnati breeds badasses, and he mentions like Moxley and Pillman.
Right.
And probably someone else, but I don't remember. MJF may be from beautiful Long Island, but he's from the streets in Cincinnati and says, "Welcome to the jungle." I thought it was the Midwest, not the jungle.
Right. It's the jungles of the Midwest United States.
I'm confused now.
Concrete jungle, maybe.
MJF questions Pillman, thinking it was a good idea to go toe-to-toe with him on the mic. I would also have to question that
that's
decision.
A bad idea in general.
MJF insults Wardlow, I guess, for Sunday, and tells him to go stand in the corner and look pretty, because I guess Wardlow's about to hit Pillman or whatever as he goes to the ring. MJF is about to make an abortion line or whatever, and Pillman attacks.
Yep.
And then Wardlow, you can see he's kind of like turn around, so he's like letting Pillman get his licks in
a little bit, right? Yeah, which is
helping.
a cool touch.
Yeah. Garrison runs up, gets overwhelmed, and eats a ring shot from MJF.
Yep.
Thoughts?
I like this. I thought MJF was great, and Pillman seemed to draw a lot of energy from the fans. He did a good job as well.
Because he is a Cincinnati boy.
Yep, the crowds at these shows are unbelievable and add to just about every match and every segment, right? So MJF seemed like the guy who is out of control kind of after his loss to Jericho, which I like. And I also like they continue to tease the tension between Wardlow, right? So Wardlow's not a talker, and MJF insults him from time to time. And so Wardlow's thing is just like he gets his revenge by just letting this guy take a couple shots before he steps in, right? So I really enjoyed this segment, and I think it's a nice use of Pillman here too.
Yeah. I thought it was another awesome promo from MJF. I'm not too thrilled about him feuding with the Varsity Blondes. Could produce some decent matches, but it just doesn't feel like it's worth his time.
I know. I think it's the point is he'll maybe elevate them on the way by to something else a little bit, which he's capable of doing.
But this was top tier MJF for sure. Then we get a quick promo from Moxley, who puts over Suzuki as the most violent man in New Japan. Nice.
Nice.
Mox says maybe it's where he came from, but he's never been afraid of Suzuki.
That's just crazy. You should be.
Jonathan Moxley.
Standard Mox promo, just a mini version is the only thing I had to say. Like, it's good. It was just really short.
Solid promo from Mox again, putting over his opponent while staying in character.
Yep.
Like, that's a talent of his.
It is.
Next, we get Ruby Soho versus Jamie Hayter in a fairly one-sided match won by Soho in the last second or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it, though. Notables. Shoulder tackle by Hayter, who then goes for hip toss, but Ruby counters into an arm hold. Stun gun by Hayter, who follows up by sending Soho into the bottom rope. Stun gun, not to be confused with the gun stun. Stun gun's like a flapjack onto the top rope, kind of. And a gun stun is an RKO, but worse. Ruby uses her knees to push Hayter against the turnbuckles, so kind of like putting her knees on her back and then like pulling to like apply pressure.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel like that's the Liv Morgan move.
It could be. Riot Squad, they share.
Yeah. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, that's right.
Running thrust kick in the corner to the back of the head by Soho, kind of with Hayter still against the second turnbuckle. Rope rebound, tornado DDT for 2 by Soho. An odd botch of Soho, looking like she's setting up for a Poison Rana, but then Hayter loses her balance and gets planted face first in an interesting looking.
It ended up looking okay, but I definitely wasn't what they were going for, I don't think, right? So there was a couple issues in here in this match.
Yeah, a neck breaker across the knee by Hayter, followed by a nice Ushigoroshi and a running basement clothesline for 2. I like that little sequence.
Yes, for sure.
Solo hits the riot kick somewhat out of nowhere for the win. And post-match, the heels attack Soho. Stupid Riho comes out to make the save, gets beat down. Loser. What? And Chris Statlander chases off the heels with the steel chair.
Right.
Riho and Soho.
I thought there were some issues with this match, and Hayter's in that style of wrestler for me who looks really good on offense, like delivering her moves, but then she struggles in other areas, I find, right? During the match, like taking some moves, some of the stuff in between moves. Also, I thought some of her kicks looked really weak. I thought Soho looked pretty good when she was in control. The match wasn't bad, but I don't think it was good either. There was a little bit of stuff that I thought looked sloppy is the word I always go with, but I think probably on Hayter's end. So I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was very good either, which is unfortunate for Ruby Soho.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was a fine TV match, and Hayter got some pretty good moves. But there were a couple of iffy spots, and it felt like it showcased Hayter more than the newcomer.
A little bit.
Soho. Similar to that Kaylee Ray Ember Moon match we were talking about from this week's NXT. The aftermath was standard and does not matter much.
No, I didn't even really talk about it.
It's like...
It's AEW's what happens.
And it's Riho, like, who cares?
I don't mind. I don't love her, but I'm not quite so negative.
Cage versus Starks promo package next. Cage asks if Starks is sick and tired of this, and Stark says he is, because after he hit Cage with the belt last week, he thought he would have more common sense to walk away.
Right.
Cage says he wants them one-on-one to see who's better, and Stark says one way or another, Cage will find out why they call him Absolute Ricky Starks, which I still don't understand that nickname.
I don't either. I didn't think there was anything new really offered here. It was generic stuff. It was fine. I don't think it was bad, but it wasn't like, doesn't add anything, make me more excited for the match, so it was fine.
Fine segment, like you said, kind of generic. No real stakes to it, because even if the title's on the line, it's a fake title.
Yeah, but I guess the more it's defended, the less fake it becomes. I don't know, but I still don't. I don't recognize it.
It's not sanctioned.
No, it's not.
Right. I guess she's right. This isn't the best spot for Cage, but like.
Yeah, I don't think so. But at least he's getting on TV, right? There's people that aren't involved at all.
Would you rather he challenge Omega and lose? Like, there's your other option.
She would probably suggest that he should win that, but. Again, she might be slightly biased towards her husband. Could be.
Maybe a little bit.
Could be.
It has to be Hangman, bro. Hangman.
Right.
Next, we get the Pinnacle, represented by Jonathan Spears and FTR, versus the Dark Order, represented by Stu Grayson, Jonathan Silver, and Evil Uno.
The ultimate trio for me. If I were putting together a trios team out of the Dark Order, this would be my 3.
But not in this case.
Maybe not.
A short and kind of enhancement match, only here to serve storyline purposes for something nobody wants to happen.
I agree with that assessment.
Shoulder tackle by Spears and taunting before he gets body slammed by Silver. Cash pulls Grayson into a stiff lariat. A Pele kick to Spears by Grayson. Springboard elbow drop / sidewalk slam combo by Uno and Grayson for 2 count. Combo by Silver and Uno. And they kind of stare at each other and like they're like, oh yeah, we're back on the same page.
Right.
Next we have cool suplex by Silver. Spears and Cash take out Uno and Grayson. Silver fights off all 3 members of the Pinnacle. Silver hits Dax with a pump kick to the back of the head while he's draped on the second rope. And he follows with the deadlift German suplex for 2. Silver and Uno collide while Uno's on the apron, and Dax hits Silver with a slingshot suplex. And FTR kind of like do like the double flapjack setup into Spears' Death Valley Driver for the win. And in the post match, of course, Dark Order get they argue and it starts to get physical, and like it's so stupid. And Anna Jay comes out to kind of
Tay Conti, right?
Yeah. To kind of like settle it, but then it just ends.
Yeah, it was. I was disappointed because I think that these 6 could have a pretty awesome match, but like you said, I agree. If this was more about the story of Dark Order than the match itself, the match was really mostly just Pinnacle beating on John Silver, right? And they did a good job doing that. Silver got a few nice flurries in, but the Dark Order stuff seems strange to me. I don't think any fan wants them to break up, so I have a feeling that in the end things are going to work out. And
I think this is where Hangman comes, and he unites them.
To reunite them, maybe?
Yeah. I think that's the only way this can go.
Or somehow Jay and Conti are the peacekeepers and they end up feuding with each other. I don't know, but bottom line, AEW has not shown that they're going to ram storylines down the fans' throats like other companies do, and when the fans clearly don't want it. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that this isn't where this is going.
Me too, but I don't really like this at all just because...
Your idea makes total sense, because that would be a strong bring-back page.
Right, and I'm thinking, like, he's watching at home, right? Because he's got his baby.
Right.
And he's
holding the baby and feeding the baby.
This happen. He's like... He has a resurge of confidence, and he comes back to unite them, and they're all confident, like he unites them against the super elite, and
makes sense.
They all win titles, and
that
it's happy.
But no, I think you might be onto something, because I really don't feel like any AEW fans want this, and I think that they're smart enough to go, we're not going to give this to them when they don't want it. So I think there is a larger plan here. Maybe I'm just being overly hopeful, but I think your idea makes a lot of sense.
Grayson, versus Lucha Bros.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be.
Or even Silver and Reynolds. Like, I mean...
Yeah, they're a good
team.
They
would never win.
Solo and Reynolds.
Silver.
You said Solo.
No.
Oh, we can go back and listen. 2 hours, 4 minutes.
2 hours and 6 minutes.
Anyways, carry on. It's almost strawberry check-in time.
Oh, yes. So I thought the match itself was fine, and nothing interesting other than a bit from John Silver. The Aftermath sucked. Nobody wants this. Nobody even wants the Dark Order to fight, but they kind of cut it off, and I even said, we just talked about it. Hangman better come back soon, because he may be the only one who can unite them again.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I like that idea.
And then I think that will also set him back on course to where he needs to be.
It would. He'd be a mega babyface, setting up to face the mega heel.
I could see this going for, like, the rest of the month, though, because Full Gear's what? Like... second week of November.
Sure.
I think it's on the 13th.
I'm not sure.
So that's like a while away, right?
Yep.
So they do kind of have to play this carefully. Maybe like they could do it soon, because Hangman might have to work his way up the rankings, or like maybe go through the Super Elite in the labors of Hangman.
Oh, come on.
Well, that would be good, because
I guess
not, because Hangman's not old.
Yeah.
Next we get a weird promo thing from
a bunch of the women from the Battle Royal, right?
Yeah, it's really weird. Anna Jay says, the Casino Battle Royal, her and Conti continued issues with the Bunny and Penelope Ford. Penelope. Bunny retaliates by saying that they are obsessed with her and Ford, and she's sick of dealing with psychopaths. Next, we get a thing for Cargill and Nyla Rose. Cargill says she learned her lesson, which is to trust no one. Nyla Rose says she proved she's still the most dominant force in AEW. She didn't win, so I am going to have to disagree with that statement. And then Thunder Rosa says she almost won, but didn't, but it's okay because she'll never give up and she'll keep going. I thought this was fine to follow up on a couple things from the Battle Royale, but this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then also Rosa doesn't really need to be there because she doesn't really have any.
I feel like this was their way. I kind of liked it. It's their way of letting us know who out of that Battle Royal that they think is important, it kind of feels like, and sort of setting up, these are the major players, and it looks like Bunny and Penelope Ford are some sort of like team-ish thing, I guess, but I liked it. I thought it was interesting too. It just kind of forced in there.
Kip Sabian would have to join HFO.
Who knows? But yeah, I thought it was okay. It was interesting. It's a way to sort of let us know these are the women going forward that we're probably going to talk about. So
Kip Sabian takes over, and we have the SFO.
Sure.
The Sabian family office.
No, thank you.
No? What? No. Next we get a Tully Blanchard interview. Tully talks about people from his past and present and says the Pinnacle destroyed the Dark Order. Tully says Sting is trying to capitalize off of Darby and he's going to put an end to it. Why does he care about that?
This seemed random to me. Yes. Part of my comments.
He tells Tony Khan to book Allen versus Spears next week, and eventually he and Sting will face off one more time. No, thank you.
Yeah. So I guess Spears and Allen are getting, like, Allen's getting a match to rebuild after losing to Punk, I would assume. I thought it was okay, but it did seem kind of a random way to set up a match, and I don't have any interest in Tully Blanchard and Sting, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But yeah, this felt kind of strange and just there to create a match all of a sudden.
I find promo, but Spears vs. Darby is kind of random, and nobody in their right mind would want to see Sting versus Tully Blanchard in 2021. That would just be terrible.
Not me.
Spears vs. Darby could be a solid match, though. Could. I mean, it's just
It's an Allen rebuild match, right?
I guess.
Think. Yeah.
Especially because it's the next week, which I did complain about on NXT, but I feel like AEW doesn't do that as much for like major matches.
Yeah. Or like Darby Allin's gonna lose to Spears due to some shenanigans, and it could lead to like Allen MJF.
Right. Or like they'll get
where they're going.
some promos before the match or something. Right. Next we got Varsity Blonde's interview. It's basically just Garrison's being checked on and Pillman speaks.
Right.
So more so Pillman. Pillman says he needs to challenge MJF after what happened tonight. Or he said he needed to challenge, so he went to Tony Khan. And he'll face MJF at Dynamite Grand Slam, which is the stadium show. And the Acclaimed interrupt. Yay!
Yeah, nice to see them back.
And insults Pillman and give him roses. Caster says he'll face Pillman on Rampage. Yippee! Solid promo work all around, I thought. And I am excited for the Rampage match just to see Caster's entrance, which I haven't seen in a while. I did watch it. It was very nice.
It'll be toned down now because he's getting edited, but
it was pretty good.
I think this is...
It was pretty much the same.
I think this is a fine first step for MJF after getting out of the Jericho feud. He can get away from Jericho, start to get back on track, I assume, with the win against Pillman. I thought Pillman was fine here again. Caster seemed a little bit more subdued than usual. I was hoping for some more cutting insults from him, but it's nice to see him back for sure.
Yeah. His entrance, it was pretty much the same. Like, you wouldn't notice too much of a difference.
Oh, you checked it out already?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
It was good.
Good. I might check it out later.
Tony Schiavone speaks with the Elite. And of course, Callis takes the mic right away, so no, Tony Schiavone will not speak with the Elite.
Right.
Callis talks about Omega ranking number 1 in the PWI 500. He says All Out was all about the Elite, with Omega retaining and the Bucks putting on one of the greatest matches of all time, which is kind of like saving grace from them losing the titles.
But they lost.
Right.
Didn't mention that.
Where the belts were stolen. Nick says, speaking of things they got back, they got their best friend back, and he introduces Adam Cole, baby.
Mm-hmm. Great reaction for Cole, too.
Yes.
And I kind of like his whole story time gimmick. He's doing the story time with Adam Cole thing. I kind of like that to lead into his promos.
Yeah, and I love the Adam Cole baby so much with the full crowd.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I hated it in the CWC when he would do it, and you can hear him say Adam Cole baby. Like, that to me is the cutoff. Like, you should just hear that, the crowd shout it.
The crowd alone in AEW is going to draw wrestlers to their company. Just the reactions they're getting and the participation and the engagement from the crowd is like off the charts.
They're even engaged in the crummy Paul White stuff.
They love everything. They're just there to have a good time. It's amazing.
Yes.
And it's because the company is trying to give them a good time instead of just forcing crap on them. It's like, we know you want this, so let's go and have fun.
Yeah. So Cole asks who's ready for story time. He says, first of all, and he goes up to Tony Schiavone, and this is awesome. I really like this. He says he knows he's close with Britt Baker, and he says if he ever looks at her the wrong way, he will kick his ass and knock his glasses off. And he tells Tony to leave the ring and repeatedly calls him a nerd until he leaves.
I didn't like that part.
I like that. I
really
thought that was
disliked
funny.
it. I don't think Britt Baker needs him standing up for her. She can handle herself.
I thought it was funny.
And B, I don't know. I just felt like it was a really harsh start for Adam Cole to be like calling Schiavone, and I don't know. It felt unnecessary.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cole says AEW is the best wrestling promotion in the world because of the Elite, and he says he may be new to AEW, but he has been Elite for a long time. That's true, and also true because he's very good, and he was with the Elite, or at least he was in Bullet Club.
He was.
I think now he's like in the Elite because the Elite was like pretty much just Omega and the Bucks, and I think Cody and Hangman, but now he's actually in the Elite.
And apparently officially. Omega, when he was referring to like some of the stars that in his league or whatever in his league are dead, he's referring to Cole because on being the Elite, they like he was killed off apparently. So he's like back from the dead again.
Yeah.
So he's kind of in a long.
Yeah, I watched BTE and they did like a resurrection
in
thing.
an inside way. He's kind of saying Cole's like on his level, right? Which is nice to say.
Yeah. I did watch BTE, and they had like a resurrection thing for Cole,
right?
Which is kind of
so
funny.
I think that was the reference.
And like WWE never happened,
right?
Which I mean, I don't blame them.
Hey, they say they're not wrestling. So when these guys are basically like, I haven't been wrestling for that, it's kind of true. It's sports. They've been sports entertaining.
Cole was wrestling pretty good.
He was. NXT's different.
He had a good run though, at least. He says the fans should be thanking them, and now the Elite is complete. That rhymes. It's very nice.
It does.
He says he'll make his in-ring debut next week. That is very pleasing to me.
Yep.
And everyone will see how elite he is. Omega says that sounds like a cause for celebration. He says he would celebrate, but he talks about how he's not a fan of interruptions. And as he is continuing to talk, Bryan Danielson interrupts him again. His theme's so gross. I just don't like it.
Okay.
It's just like, I don't know. I like his Flight of the Valkyries theme, and they just kind of cut off. And it's like the just the normal. It sounds like a really weird bass booted, like...
I don't know. You notice these things. I don't really.
It sounds like a background music for a pay-per-view or something.
Maybe it is. Maybe it will be.
Brian takes the mic from Omega and asks if the crowd wants to see him fight Omega, and I wonder what they could possibly chant for that.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing. No, maybe, if you really want to. Am I close?
Well, yeah, you're getting there.
We would appreciate that match very much. No?
Yes, that works. That's exactly what they were saying. Brian says Omega is telling him it doesn't work like that around here. Brian says he thinks Omega is afraid to take the match because Omega knows Brian is better than him and not on his level. Well, that's not very nice. Omega attacks, but is put in the yes lock or the
label lock.
I guess that's what they would call it.
Yeah.
Before the Elite intervene, or I could see them easily just calling it a crossface if they really need to.
Yeah, maybe.
Christian, Kaz, and Jurassic Express make the save, and Brian is running knee on poor Brandon Cutler. Thoughts?
You're not going to be happy, but I was really disappointed in Cole's thing. He said nothing of consequence, and it definitely wasn't a story. All he did was put the Elite over.
Well, he didn't do a story last time either.
But there was nothing interesting here. He delivers it well. He has amazing charisma. I just don't find he said anything interesting in this. And
that's fair.
Expectations were high. It's like, I'm part of the Elite. The Elite are awesome. We're awesome. Like, nothing about anything else. I
think it might just be like, I think hopefully it won't be like that next time because it's just like, it still is kind of, he just got here, I guess.
And I was put off by the Shivani stuff to start. I thought Danielson was good. His character right now, like his whole thing is all he wants to do is wrestle, right? He just wants to wrestle talented people. That's his gimmick. So confronting Omega right away makes sense. The aftermath was fun for the crowd, but as I always say, I'm pretty much numb to these types of scenes in AEW at this point, so it didn't do much for me. Disappointed in Adam Cole very much. I was hoping for some sort of just amazing promo with lots of shots at WWE or something, because he could do that cleverly.
I feel like they should have done that, but because this did. Now that you say that, it does feel like it was kind of a retread of what he said at All Out.
He didn't say anything new.
It was
so.
Right. But I think it'll probably improve on.
Of course it will. He's amazing. I'm not saying he's
not. I'm hoping it's just for like this first week or whatever, which it's understandable. I thought Cal spoke pretty well. I thought Cole spoke well at least. I kind of like the Baker line.
Always does.
At least.
Yep.
I think the nerd might have been out of hand, but like. I just 5 times, but I like the Baker line.
Seemed extreme right off the bat. To me.
Brian also spoke well, I thought, and it expectedly erupted into a brawl. I will gladly take Brian Omega anytime, anywhere. And since they're fighting in the brawl, and it would be awesome, I would love to see Jungle Boy versus Adam Cole.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would just be perfect. They're kind of similar. They're like smaller, like good wrestler people.
It would be terrific.
Jungle Boy is very babyface, and Adam Cole is not.
Right. It would be good.
So that would be great.
Yep.
Next, we go to our main event. Minoru Suzuki versus Jonathan Moxley. And my description for the match, it was a strong style slugfest of a match with the hometown victory. Kind of what you expect from Suzuki. Like, Mox is kind of like a brawler type, but he doesn't usually go strong style, so he did kind of adapt to that to face Suzuki. Notables for the match. Forearm exchange right off the bat. They do kind of slow with the strong style. It's like they want each other to hit them. Each hit a boot. More strikes from both of them. Corner boot by Suzuki. Mox avoids a kick from Suzuki and bites his face. Shortly after, Suzuki gets revenge by doing the same. A headbutt by Suzuki. Mox retaliates with one of his own. More headbutts are traded and another strike exchange ensues. Mox counters the pile driver with a back body drop and a paradigm shift, which looks pretty nice, and Suzuki is now bleeding from the eye.
He is. A lot.
Yes. Or like the eye area, at least.
Yep.
A clothesline by Mox for 1 count. Mox hits more lariats, and Suzuki does everything he can to stay on his feet, which he does kind of, but while staggering. And he hits a dropkick when Mox goes to run the ropes again. A pair of punches by Mox. A paradigm shift. It was more of a butterfly suplex.
It really was.
Really weird.
He flipped right over. Yeah.
And that gets Mox the win, unfortunately.
So I didn't think the match, it didn't get a ton of time. There wasn't much time left in the show.
Yeah, it was kind of shorter than I expected, which I think
too.
Maybe is why it didn't quite deliver for me.
I agree. But
it was good.
A bunch of the time that was given was strike exchanges, like very New Japan style. I thought the second half of the match was better, and the blood added something again, even though I'm not a big blood guy. I keep saying it added.
That's kind of an issue, like you said, the New Japan style, because that's like... it's really hard to adapt their format to a TV format because like their matches they like go on for like epic. However long, right?
And that's the thing. The strike exchanges happen, but it's part of like a larger match where other crazy stuff happens too, right?
Whereas this they don't really get the time.
This felt like very heavy strike exchange. So I enjoyed the match. I don't think it was incredible, especially for a main event. But I mean, it was a good match. I enjoyed it, just not a blow-away main event.
Yeah. This is exactly what you expect from them in terms of like it was a strike exchange, strong style stuff.
Yep.
Finish was kind of lame where the paradigm shift wasn't really a paradigm shift. Other than that, small blunder is pretty good, although fell a little short of expectations just due to the time constraints.
Yeah, they were, because I remember looking and it was like, man, they only have like, maybe it was 10 or just under 10 minutes left in the show, so what did not get a ton of time.
But good for what.
Great to see Suzuki in North America. Good for their time
constraints, yes. Thoughts on the show as a whole and a letter grade.
Overall, I liked this episode. I don't think the in-ring was amazing, but it was pretty good.
It wasn't bad either.
No, Dustin and Black had a good match despite how I feel about it, right? The main event was good too, not great. Hobbs-Martin match was solid. Soho Hater match I didn't think was very good, and I didn't love the way the Dark Order was presented in that match. It did have some decent action in it. I just didn't love the aftermath, sort of, I guess. Segment-wise, my main takeaway was my disappointment in Cole's promo, because I really wanted to hear something cool out of him. I'd expected a lot, and he made it sound like he had something to say with the story time, but then he didn't. I thought the Punk segment and the Kingston Miro promos were really good, and everything else was at least fine. So looking back, we always have to like go through our notes to sort of go for our overall thoughts. I really enjoyed the first hour, which seems like something I say a lot. Like the first hour of Dynamite is just amazing a lot of times. But still, I thought this week was a B+ show. It basically was lacking the amazing in-ring for a match or two to get in that A range, but I thought it was just shy of that. I really liked the show. You?
Yeah. So I thought the opener was a fine match, predictable outcome. I liked the Lucha Bros short promo, and the same with the Kingston Miro segment, which suggests a rematch, which fine by me.
Right.
Perhaps we were saying like with a no DQ stipulation.
Yep.
Right, because like that would just lend itself, like that would kind of even the odds for Kingston.
Right.
CM Punk also cut another fine promo, I thought, and his Team Taz suit is kind of interesting, but like they're also kind of occupied already with Cage, so it's kind of odd.
Yeah.
I could see then maybe teaming like Punk and Cage versus Hobbs and Starks.
Maybe, and
I
then
could see that.
Work their way to singles after that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Proud and Powerful's promo was good, and same with the Ruby Soho interview / interaction with Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I especially like Baker's line. Hobbs versus Dante Martin was fine. Didn't really feel like it belonged on Dynamite, just because like it felt kind of like an enhancement match, maybe on like Elevation, but it was still good. I didn't care about the Hardy Cassidy thing, and MJF's promo was good per the usual, but Pillman seems a big step down for MJF, but could just be to kind of make him look good, and also get MJF a rebuild win, kind of like you were saying with Allen and Spears.
Right.
We got another solid promo from Mox, although short. Hater versus Soho is a solid match, but kind of dominant on the opposite side.
Yeah.
The trios match was fine, but short, and it did what I figured it was there to do. The promo thing from the Battle Royal contestants was fine, but kind of random, especially because it's over. And just, I feel like, you could just do these as their own thing, or like, I don't know. It was just kind of weird. The Tully interview was fine, but nobody wants to see him versus Sting. Pillman spoke fine in his interview as well, and the Elite segment was, pretty good, I thought. And the main event was the exact type of match you would expect from the two involved, and I thought it was pretty good. Overall, a fine show, just around average, but there was some stuff I liked, so I'll give it like a low B+.
Yep, that sounds fair. I think that's about where I would say too, closer to a B than an A-, probably. All right, so that's going to bring us into another section. We talk about other wrestling stuff that we call any other wrestling business. All right, so what do you want to do? I can do Impact. We can do your Rewind match. How would you like to play it?
I don't really care.
You want to catch your breath? I'll do Impact. All right, so Impact Wrestling this week I was looking forward to, because if you listened, I really enjoyed last week, so I had high hopes this week. The show started with a few highlights from last week's show before heading straight into the opening match, which is Tasha Steelz with Savannah Evans versus Rosemary. So this stems most recently from Steelz. She came out as part of No Way's entourage in disguise last week and then sort of revealed herself and attacked Rosemary. So that's kind of how we got to this match. Right away, the fans in Nashville are chanting "Bite her face off," which they do for basically any of the decay people. So Rosemary does in fact bite Steele's face, then hits a German suplex. So Rosemary's in control for a while here until she misses a missile dropkick. Then Steele gets her turn in control with some pretty basic strikes and submissions, to be honest. We get an inverted DDT by Rosemary to slow Steele's down. Step up Bulldog by Steele's. Tasha comes off the top but misses Rosemary, and then Rosemary hits a spear and it's over. Savannah, after the match, confronts Rosemary and Havoc in the center of the ring. Tasha takes the belts to ringside, and so that momentarily distracts Rosemary and Havoc. This allows Evans to hit both of them with clotheslines, and then Tasha and Savannah run away with the tag team belts. So they've stolen the titles. They do not belong to them. So really short match, less than 5 minutes, and I didn't think it was great, to be honest. I'm not sure Tasha Steelz is quite ready for opening singles matches at this point. And I'm really hoping this use of the WWE's like steal someone's property and now they have to try and win it back in a match is really weak. So I'm hoping that's not what they're doing here. I'm hoping the story goes somewhere else. Gia is then talking to Ace Austin about his upcoming match. Ace Austin sort of talks himself up a little bit, but then says Madman Fulton told him he has some business to take care of. So Ace and Fulton leave the interview, walk straight over to Scott D'Amore, who's conveniently right just beside them off camera. Ace brags about beating Tommy Dreamer, suggests that Christian needs to have a match before Victory Road to keep things fair, since Austin had a match and heading into facing Christian, he wants Christian to do the same. Austin offers to find Christian a match for next week, and no surprise, Fulton volunteers to take that match. D'Amore jokes about not knowing that Fulton talks, which I actually thought was funny because Fulton really doesn't say much. Then he goes into his usual sarcastic mode, announces a 10-man match for next week, I think between Cage and 4 others, and then Fulton and 4 others, or it's maybe Austin, Fulton, and 3 others. At this point in the show, I really wasn't sure what he was doing here. It felt all very random. Austin and Fulton then walk over to Brian Myers and Sam Beal, who are also sort of there having a meeting with Zicky Dice and Manny Lemons. If you forget, they're the 2 remaining guys from the open casting call that Myers had last week. Beal says that Fulton and Austin weren't invited to their little meeting they're having, and Ace Austin quickly reminds Sam Beal that he is in fact the number 1 contender and he can kind of do what he wants. Austin asks Myers to be his partner in the 10-man match, and Myers tells Dice, Beal, and Lemons to make a note and that opportunities come to you when you wait. Myers then agrees to be on Austin's team for that 10-man match. So this was a lengthy segment, and honestly, it left me a little bit confused. Austin suggests a Fulton-Christian Cage match. D'Amore agrees, but then made it a 10-man match, I think. And I guess the segment couldn't have been great if the outcome isn't really clear to me. I thought D'Amore, Austin, and Fulton did a fine job in their roles. I would just suggest that the roles weren't very well designed here because I was a bit confused and I kind of tried to pay attention and take notes. As a bonus, it wasn't very short either, so I didn't love this segment. And the thing that starts to annoy me in this show, not to spoil it, is that this now becomes the thread woven throughout this story, this random 10-man match that D'Amore just invented on the spot here. So we'll come back to it, trust me. Violent by Design then get a segment. Rhino, as we remember last week, has basically been placed in solitary confinement to get over his sort of losing ways, I guess. And so now he's yelling for help from solitary confinement. We get a bunch of cool imagery and music, shots of Eric Young talking to Rhino as he's cuffed to the table again. Young says his usual cryptic stuff, something along the lines of violence is the only cure for Rhino. Rhino suffered enough and it's time to fulfill his destiny. Rhino's in his purest form now. Young has baptized Rhino in the holy water of change, and obviously hits us with the world doesn't belong to them, it belongs to us.
Like a reincarnation?
Right,
Ooh.
Basically. So Rhino is then shown released from his cell, and he's wearing a Rhino versus Everybody t-shirt. So I say it all the time. These segments look cool, they sound cool, but the group doesn't really back it up. They need to start getting some dominant wins to sort of make these segments work, because on their own, they're pretty cool, but put into the context of what this group does on a weekly basis in ring, there's kind of a disconnect there a little bit at this point. We then go to Machine Gun Carl Anderson. He's got Doc Gallows, obviously, facing Rich Swann in a bunkhouse brawl. Obviously, you didn't see this, Jack, but you should see they have plywood set up in the ring along with other stuff, and it's like the flimsiest looking plywood you've ever seen. It looks like basically a couple pieces of cardboard.
Yeah, I saw like the
really flimsy.
Yeah.
Anderson goes through
when they do the barbed wire boards, but it looks like Bristol board.
Yes. Anderson goes through a piece of plywood early. Swan chokes Anderson with a chain. Anderson wears Swan
Why are they doing a bunkhouse
with a trash can lid? This is just there because remember they took out Willie Mack, and then Swan pinned Gallows, I think, rolled him up in a match. So they're basically saying you should get a tag team title match now, but your opponent's in the hospital. So this is Swan.
What does the bunkhouse have to do with anything?
Trying to get back at them. This is just the escalation of the feud, I guess, into basically an Extreme Rules match, essentially, so that they can get their revenge. Swan gets suplexed on the ramp at one point. Anderson does the classic thing where he wedges a chair in the corner, but Swan ends up reversing an Irish whip and sending Anderson into it instead. Swan then goes through the plywood twice, and the crowd chants, "This is awesome." I agree to disagree, actually. Swan moves. Anderson runs himself through more plywood. Trash can lid shots to Anderson. Series of moves for a near fall. Spinebuster by Anderson. One of the cool things in this was Anderson goes to hit a gun stun, and instead of driving his head into the mat, Swan sort of flips out of it and blocks it with a handstand, which I thought was really cool. But then a big clothesline by Anderson for a near fall. Gallows helps get out a table and helps Anderson set it up in the ring. Anderson ends up on the table, but Gallows interferes to sort of stop that spot. Eventually, we get an avalanche gun stun onto the table, and unfortunately for Rich Swann, the table just refuses to break, so it actually looks more painful, I think, as he sort of bounces off this table, and Anderson picks up the pinfall victory. So this match got a decent amount of time, but honestly for me it was pretty boring. I don't love hardcore Extreme Rules matches unless they get really sort of innovative and interesting and intense. This one was just kind of standard match without much innovation, I thought. If you like these matches, maybe you liked it and the crowd seemed to. I didn't find much about it interesting. Maybe because I don't feel the bitterness of this feud like I'm supposed to. I think Swan looks kind of silly for not bringing somebody down with him to neutralize Gallows, because you know they're going to cheat and Gallows is going to get involved. And the Good Brothers I don't think look super strong here, because Anderson could barely win what was essentially like a hardcore handicap match, right? With Gallows being there to help him. Swan's gun stun counter was the highlight of the match for me. He looked pretty good at times when he got little flurries, but the rest of this match I thought was just average. I didn't love it. Gia Miller then sits down to talk to Mickie James. She brings up the Purrazzo attack at the NWA event, and James wants to get back at her, and basically saying that Purrazzo isn't going to make a name at Mickie James' expense. She says it's not about business now because she's not playing the role of executive producer. Deonna made it personal, and Mickie takes pro wrestling very personally. Impact has allowed Mickie to redefine her career and become hardcore country years ago, and there's a big difference between business Mickie and hardcore country Mickie, and Deonna will find out what hardcore country is all about. I thought this was good. Mickie and Deonna will likely have a pretty good match, but it really seems like Impact doesn't have any talent of their own that pose a believable threat to Purrazzo, and I think that's going to start to be a problem, that they're basically having to pull from other companies to get realistic challenges for Deonna. They need to do a better job of finding and building somebody that could be a singles threat at this point, because this division used to be really strong, and right now I don't think it is at all. Like, people are going to argue that Rosemary you can build. I don't think she's that great in ring myself. I mean, she has a few cool looking moves, but overall I'm not sure who's going to take this belt away from Purrazzo. So the Drama King, whatever his name is, Ray Walt, thank you. I can never get it. So he gets a vignette next, and it's footage of him painting on a piece of canvas as he's talking to us. Basically, Trey Miguel is the thorn in his side right now, and Trey is almost a masterpiece and a true artist in the ring, and the Drama King just wants to get close to that, so he wants a match with Trey next week. I thought this was okay. It does seem a bit like he's trying too hard to have a giant vocabulary and really make as many references to art as he can. So it does not feel like a character that's going to ever ascend beyond mid-card to me, but he might be a solid mid-card talent, but this just does not feel like a main event character at this point. Gia then talks to Josh Alexander backstage. Alexander talks about facing one of the greatest X Division champions of all time, but he also notes that as an 8-time champion, that means Sabin has lost the title a lot as well. Something the crowd pointed out last week that I thought was pretty funny. Christian Cage shows up, says that he's a big fan of Alexander, asks him if he would like to join him on his 10-man tag match. I think it's next week that's happening. Alexander then talks about how he grew up a few blocks from Christian in Canada and how Christian taught him that pro wrestling was awesome. Alexander agrees to be on Christian's team, and Christian says he really likes how Alexander wanted to be the face of Impact when Omega was champion, but now Christian is the champion. Christian said he respects Alexander, and Alexander says he's looking forward to facing Christian in the ring someday. I like this. It felt like a realistic interaction between two guys that could actually happen. Alexander, in my opinion, I would love it if he was the one to take the title from Christian, become the face of Impact, and have a long run with the championship, because I think he is like the perfect champion for Impact. He's a guy they can claim as their own. He's undeniably amazing in the ring. His promo work is better than I thought. I really think he could represent them strongly for quite a while if they pull the trigger on that. Rohit, in a quick little segment here, he talks about all the heat he's taking for knocking Chelsea Green out with the knee strike last week, after weeks of me complaining how they keep putting women in matches with men and won't let the men touch them, basically. Rohit just knocked her out with a high knee that I quite liked. He says he stared into her eyes and she wanted it, so he gave it to her. He's a real man, and Cardona is a coward that hides behind a woman. So I like this promo. Roju seems to be kicking up the heel work. It almost seemed like he's unhinged here, and I quite liked it. He's the remorseless heel who knocked out a woman and is fine with it. I think he's doing a great job here. It's too bad. I think he's unlikely to beat Cardona if they face each other, because you know me, I think Rohit is the future. I think he's fantastic right now.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Bay versus David Finlay, which on paper should be a pretty good match. It's a rematch of this after Bay beat Finlay with his feet up on the ropes in their first encounter. So Bay is using heel tactics early to avoid and frustrate Finlay. Bay's just really quick, dodging attacks, escaping the ring, that kind of thing. Finlay eventually follows Bay outside, hits some chops and strikes. Bay counters a bunch of Finlay's offense, continues to run away from him. We get a back elbow and a senton for 2 by Finlay. Bay then with a series of kicks and a leaping elbow to Finlay, who's hanging over the top rope at that point. Big clothesline by Chris Bay for a 2 count. Belly to back suplex by Finlay. Sprinting uppercuts, because David Finlay is incredibly fast. I don't think he looks like he's that fast, but man, when he gets moving. So these uppercuts look better than the average person. You get an Uranagi backbreaker by Finlay, and it's kind of cool because he goes for it. Bay tries to counter it, and Finlay just holds on to it and ends up hitting it. It's hard to explain, but it looked pretty cool. Crossface by Finlay, but Bay gets to the ropes. Spinebuster by Bay for 2. They do a repeat of the finish here from the previous match, with Bay putting his feet on the ropes, but Juice Robinson runs down to knock Bay's feet off the ropes just in time. Finlay then uses the roll-up off of the distracted Bay to pick up the win here. Then Hikuleo shows up. I guess he's still around. He attacks FinJuice, chokeslams Juice Robinson before Chris Bay puts a chair on Robinson's ankle, hits an assisted stomp as Hikuleo sort of helps him get a little more elevation, stomps on the ankle, and the Bullet Club theme plays. I thought this was a pretty good TV match for Impact. Both of these guys, Bay and Finlay, are incredibly quick. Bay looked good because he was like kind of one step ahead of Finlay for a lot of this. And then Bay used lots of heel tactics effectively here. And I guess Finlay got his win back, which was the important thing. Finlay showcased speed and some submission work on the way to this win. Good match, but I don't know. There's something about Bay I don't think fits very well in Bullet Club still. I know they keep telling us he's a member of Bullet Club. It feels like he's just sort of placeholder until White comes back in this.
I feel like he would be a good Bullet Club guy, though. It's character.
Something's not working for me right now, and maybe it's because he's not getting to do much character work. It's just him coming in and doing matches. Anyways,
doing the dirty work.
That's right. Scott D'Amore sits down with Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander sort of at a table for their contract signing backstage. Sabin said he has the utmost respect for Alexander, but this isn't just a match for the title, it's about building a legacy. Sabin signs the contract. Alexander says that Sabin is in fact an 8-time champion, which means he lost the title 8 times. Alexander says that no one has beaten him yet, and Chris isn't going to at Victory Road. D'Amore says he knows that one person will walk out the winner and one not the winner, but both men have been killers for this company. D'Amore says both men should shake hands because they're 2 of the best. He's proud to have them represent Impact. Alexander does shake Sabin's hand, says he wants Sabin's best at Victory Road. Alexander then leaves, and Christian shows up, asks Chris Sabin to join his team, and Sabin agrees. I thought this was another good segment because it felt realistic. D'Amore was the more serious GM here and not so much sarcastic, because he's really only sarcastic with the heels, and this is 2 baby faces. The dialogue between Sabin and Alexander seemed realistic, and I guess Christian's just showing up for recruit more people was fine, and it just keeps happening throughout this show. We then get Swingers Palace. Yay, it's been missing for a while, which I was totally fine with. But I don't know if you remember last week.
No, I'm pretty sure you told me that you wanted it back.
Oh, I wanted it so bad. TJP last week told Fallah Bahh and No Way that he had a sure thing they could bet on, despite Bahh having a history of a gambling problem. So they show up and they want the odds of being on Christian's team as Bahh, TJP, and No Way show up here. TJP bets a bunch of money on the Macklin match tonight. I guess that's his sure thing, is that Macklin's going to for sure beat Petey Williams. We get some mild comedy, I guess you could call it, and Hernandez ends up throwing that trio out, and we see Kimberly and Brandy Lauren in their Su Yung sort of paint and gear sort of in the doorway. So again, surprise, surprise, I didn't like this segment, but at least it was short. And I don't like that Debbie Lee, Kimberly, and Lauren are being introduced into a comedy angle already. So I have no faith that this will lead to anything good, but we'll see. So we then get the Macklin and Petey Williams match that I guess TJP just bet on. Petey interfered in Macklin's before the Impact match, hit him with the Destroyer, and that sort of led to this match. They've had a little bit of a feud going on here. Macklin's already defeated him once. So Macklin with stomps in the corner early, a crossbody catch into a suplex. Double underhook backbreaker by Macklin. Stryker calls Macklin, I like this, toxic masculinity on display, basically. German suplex by Williams and a Russian leg sweep. Baseball slide dropkick inside out Rana to the floor by Petey Williams that looked pretty cool. Codebreaker. Petey calls for the Destroyer, but No Way's theme hits. He, TJP, and Bahh come out. Obviously, they've bet on Macklin, so they're looking to influence this match and help Macklin avoid the Destroyer because they can't have Macklin lose because they'll lose their money. So the distraction allows Macklin to hit his finisher, which is called the Mayhem for All, and he picks up the win over Petey Williams. The match was less than 4 minutes, but I think it had a decent back and forth. Petey's speed and high flying work really well with Macklin's just aggressive, vicious brawling style. The distraction finish is weak, as it almost always is, and makes Petey look kind of silly here a little bit. Macklin should be getting clean wins right now, I think, too, because I really like the character and sort of his in-ring work since he's come to Impact. I've been really impressed with Macklin so far, actually. Gia then talks to Eddie Edwards. She asks about Moose and Morrissey teaming up. Eddie says he should have known better. He starts to talk about not being afraid, but Sami Callihan interrupts and offers his help to Eddie again. Christian shows up. He asks Eddie and Sami to join his team in this 10-man match. Sami agrees, but Eddie wants no part of it if Sami is involved, so Christian needs to choose one or the other. So at this point, this randomly made 10-man match is leading to so many segments on this show. It seems kind of lazy to me. It just came out of nowhere, and now it's like the bulk of this show is just guys recruiting guys. And I usually like when they weave a storyline throughout a show, but this one came out of nowhere, and I'm not really enjoying it just coming back in every segment, basically. So just when you thought you'd gotten enough of this story, Gia shows up to talk to Ace Austin about the prospects for his team. He starts to say that he always has an ace up his sleeve. Then Moose and Morrissey interrupt him. It's Morrissey does all the talking for the partnership at this point. Says that if Sami or Eddie are on Christian's team, then they want on Austin's team, and then they walk out because they have major issues with those guys. So if they're a part of it, they want on the other side. So just another segment revolving around this random match. Great. I'm just kind of tired of it. Stryker and D'Lo then take a moment to talk about this match some more, if you can believe it. And remember, wasn't there an Impact where something was annoying me, and it was like
Swan.
8 segments on the show we counted?
It was Omega Swan.
Nice. This kind of feels similar to this. It's starting to just really annoy me. So the commentary team talk about it. They lay out the official team so far. So we've got Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, so officially both of them are in it, which I wasn't clear on until now. Brian Myers, Moose, and Morrissey. So that's your heel 5. Facing Christian, Josh Alexander, Chris Sabin, and 2 spots that are yet to be unclaimed. So yay, I guess that's exciting. We then get Moose with Morrissey facing Eddie Edwards. So they're nose to nose right away, and Eddie shoves Moose, lands a chop. Strike exchange, Eddie is down. Flurry by Eddie, stopped by a Moose shoulder tackle. So lame machine gun chops in the corner by Eddie. They always just annoy me. Not just Eddie Edwards.
He was teaming with Kojima.
Anybody doing it bugs me. Moose gets low bridged, but he hops right back up on the apron and snaps Eddie's arm over the ropes. Dueling chants as Moose runs Eddie into the ring post. During the break, Morrissey hit Eddie with a big boot out on the floor. We get a top rope Rana by Eddie, another chop exchange and a big clothesline by Eddie. Hurricane Run is caught by Moose, countered with a power bomb. Morrissey at one point gets involved and puts Moose's foot on the ropes to avoid a pinfall. Eddie hits a suicide dive on Morrissey after that interference, but when he heads back in the ring, he walks right into a spear from Moose, and Moose picks up the win. The heels then attack Eddie after the match. Sabin comes out to make the save. Predictably, basically everybody involved in the 10-man match so far comes down to get involved in this. Alexander does hit a nice C4 spike to Myers. Fulton and Austin hit a choke slam into a fold. So basically, Madman Fulton's holding Alexander up in a chokeslam position, and Austin hits a fold off the top ropes. It was kind of cool. Cage hits a kill switch on Fulton. Morrissey and Moose get ready to kill Eddie Edwards, but Alicia comes with a kendo stick, lands a couple shots.
You mean Kenny?
Yes. So they turn around and are about to attack her, but Sami Callihan comes down with his bat to make the save.
They should have called in Rohit for that.
He's still trying to prove to Eddie Edwards that they can work together, I guess. Kristen then tries to make peace between Sami and Eddie, and they both have bats. I don't know where the second one came from. And I guess they tap the bats together to sort of show that maybe there's a bit of a truce or an alliance there, and they may be aligned with Christian. The face team stands in the ring to end the show. So I thought the match was decent, but it wasn't really a great main event. Fairly short, really just to set up run-ins and a signature parade before the contrived kind of out-of-nowhere 10-man match coming up. So I do like the dynamic between Eddie and Sami, this sort of bitter enemies, with one now the anti-hero trying to work with the babyface and the babyface being skeptical. I do like that. I'm also really curious in the alliance between Moose and Morrissey, because like I said before, I think they could be just a dominant tag team in this company, but I'm not super interested in the 10-man match itself. So overall, I thought this show took a significant step back from last week. It was basically just this whole show was a vehicle to build and promote a random match that just was suggested by D'Amore in response to someone asking for another match. So by the end of the show, I was more annoyed by this 10-man match than intrigued by it, as you can probably tell as I talked about this. I thought Mickie James had a good segment. Sabin Alexander contract segment was good. Violent by Design did their usually stylish looking thing that I liked. The Drama King didn't love his, and I thought Rohit had a nice short little heel rant. In ring, Bay and Finlay I thought was good. Petey and Macklin had the start of a good one before the distraction finish in about 4 minutes. The main event and the opening matches were just okay, and the bunkhouse brawl I thought was really nothing special. So much of this show was building to a match that doesn't really interest me, and the wrestling wasn't awesome on the show either, so I feel like this was a C+ show this week, which when I get into the C range, that's sort of the implication is that it's a little bit of a chore to watch, and I didn't really love it. And I think that's how I felt about this one. It was just not, it was all about a 10-man match that just got magically invented at the beginning of the show, so it was not my favorite Impact for sure, but I'm hoping it gets back, they pick it up a notch for next week.
Nice.
And that's going to bring us into talking about, we're back to our rewind match of the week, right?
After a break for the All Out preview, I believe.
That's exactly what it was. So tell us about the match we picked and any background that you know off the top of your head.
So we
to steal our own gimmick.
We went with in Team Hell No versus The Shield from Extreme Rules 2013, because that pay-per-view I think is coming up.
Right.
This is for the WWE tag titles, the giant penny belts at the time.
Oh, the big nickels.
Yes, pennies, because they're bronze.
Sorry, Big Nickels in Sudbury. It's a landmark in Ontario, not really near where we live, but in our province.
I don't
know.
The
big pennies, you're right.
I don't even know what that is. This is from 2013, I think.
It was.
Yeah, and the only history I really remember is that Shield faced them in their debut at TLC 2012, and just Ambrose and Ryback were also involved.
Oh yeah. The big guy.
And this is the night where the Shield won all the gold.
Sorry, my chair is really squeaky today.
Ambrose also defeated Kofi for the U.S. title, I think, earlier in the show.
Right.
Anyways, notables from the match. The Shield are being on Team Hell No in opposite corners. Bryan applies that surfboard submission on Rollins and kind of puts him down a bit while still in the hold. Holds him for a basement dropkick from Kane.
Yeah, Bryan started out on fire, right? There was no holds and counters. It was nope.
It is a tornado tag match, to be fair. It doesn't really lend itself well to that, I guess.
Right.
Assisted corner forearm by Rollins and Reigns, then Rollins sends Bryan into a clothesline from Reigns. Double suplex to Kane by the Shield. Bryan counters an avalanche powerbomb from Reigns with a Hurricane Rana. Kane throws the Shield out of the ring kind of in a choke grip, and then Bryan falls with a suicide dive. Kane hits Reigns with corner punches as Bryan kicks Rollins in the other corner while kind of chanting yes. A running elbow by Bryan with the sidewalk slam by Kane, like kind of a combination there by Team Hell No. Diving clothesline by Kane to Rollins, and Bryan follows up with his flying goat diving headbutt for 2.
Flying goat diving headbutt, nice.
Well, it's diving headbutt, but he calls it the flying goat. Right. Clearly, he has not learned his lesson from
Chris
the past. Benoit. Yeah, because, he's had neck issues, and then also he's doing the move that, I Dynamite Kid, Benoit, Harley Race.
I kind of hate any headbutts at this point, even just worked ones, and especially New Japan, because some of theirs look really real, and I just don't like it. I don't think
really
we need
good
it.
Headbutts? I think it was Jack Gallagher.
Yeah.
There's someone else,
he did.
Too. Someone in the UK, I feel
It's just not something I like to see at this point.
Yeah.
With what we know about.
Rollins breaks a no-lock on Reigns. That just sounds wrong, a no-lock. Because that was... It wasn't called that for long. It just sounds weird.
It does.
And he eats a chokeslam from Kane before Reigns spears Kane. Rollins interrupts an attempted chokeslam with a springboard knee, and Reigns spears Kane again for 2, with Bryan breaking the pin. Reigns ducks kind of the roundhouse final yes kick, because he was getting kicked by Bryan. Rolls up Bryan for 2. He tries to counter the yes lock, but Reigns transitions into a catapult, sends him into a Domagiri by Rollins, and then they follow up with a springboard knee burning hammer combo for the win.
Love that finishing move. I don't remember seeing that.
Mustache Mountain used to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember seeing the Shield doing it. It was sweet.
This was I associated this with them, because I remember seeing this clip. This was their tag cool finisher without Ambrose. You know what I mean?
So this was a short match, but it was pretty much non-stop action while it lasted, right? It was probably under 10 minutes with the intros and stuff, right? I thought nice double team work by both teams. And at the time, all 4 of these guys, right, were major stars. So the crowd was pretty into this. I thought the match was really well put together and executed. Everything was clean. There was no downtime. It didn't get too confusing with all 4 of them at the same time, right? Because that can be a struggle. It wasn't a long pay-per-view match at all, but I thought it was
weird,
fun.
Which is weird, it was on the pay-per-view. I'm like, wow, this sounds like a time limit that would be on Raw.
Right, so it was a fun match. I really liked the finishing move by the Shield, obviously, and I'd forgotten about it.
Bryan took it really good, too, which helps.
I would consider this a very fun sprint, so I gave it a B overall, and it's close to a B+, but at less than 10 minutes on a pay-per-view, I can't go much higher. I think it was a good match for sure. And I enjoyed watching it. And it's a quick watch if anyone wanted to check it out. So I thought it was good and a B.
And it is on YouTube full match.
Right.
That's where we usually get our stuff if anyone would like to watch along.
Yeah, we try and watch things that are accessible if people want to watch. Pause the pod, watch it, and then listen.
Or the odd time it's on the network. So if it's on full match on YouTube, if the full match isn't put out by WWE's YouTube channel, I wouldn't recommend using it just because sometimes they're in a weird small screen.
Yes.
And it's bad quality.
I'm still waiting. We gotta get to the EO versus Penta match.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to watch it.
Odd.
That's interesting. Anyways, what did you think of this one?
I thought this was a good 10-minute match, especially for the main roster. I don't know, just their style's gotten so much worse over the years.
And it's nice to see Bryan as a refresher of oh yeah, this is what we're gonna see. So fast, so clean, so much variety in his stuff.
Imagine him when he's got more freedom, though.
Right. Yes.
There were some cool double teams, especially the finisher from the Shield.
Yep.
And they made good use of the tornado tag stipulation. Even Kane, who was by no means in his prime, he looked good in this as well.
He did.
And overall, I thought it was an easy watch for 10 minutes. Even weird that the time limit with this being a pay-per-view match.
Yep.
Thought it was pretty good, and it was pretty similar to Shield matches at the time.
Yep, it was.
I gave it a B+ because I liked it a little more.
I was close to a B+ as well. So pretty
Shield
on
is
brand.
The best. I always find it weird when Rollins does an Enziguri wearing the Shield gear, because I feel like Enziguris, it looks more normal when you're wearing kick pads.
I guess, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a detail that.
But he's wearing pants.
That's your
boots.
detailed mind there at work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna wrap up any other wrestling business and bring us into our final segment of each week, which is where Jack's gonna update us on the world of action figures and other accessories. Figuring it out with Jack.
Oh yeah, I got nothing. Haha, just kidding. Because there was stuff from AEW's All Out Fan Fest last week.
Right.
But after the pod, so not very helpful. But,
right.
Oh well, I had to wait a week. So
got it this week.
It was a week ago, so yeah. So a bunch of stuff. These are all AEW, no WWE stuff, just AEW. So first we got a bunch of Amazon exclusive stuff. So first we have a a 2-pack, a Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, what they're calling a tag team pack. And so this is kind of interesting because it's the 2 re-released figures repackaged like together. It's the Unrivaled 4 Kenny Omega and the Unrivaled 5 Hangman Page. But with the addition of the AEW tag team titles.
Oh, nice.
And you get like Page's accessories from his like normal figure with the beer mug and whatever.
Right.
I might actually pick this up because I want both of these figures anyways.
Yeah.
And this will include the tag titles, which is cool. So as someone who doesn't already have the 2 figures, that's really good for me.
Right.
And I know like mock collectors who collected them in like the box will probably get it because it's like technically different. Next we have another tag team pack, Amazon exclusive. This time it's SCU, another Unrivaled 2-pack. And these are they are not re-releases of their, I think, series, I want to say it was series 5?
Sure.
Maybe? But these are repaints, so instead of, like, black, they're in red.
Nice.
Again, they come with the tag team titles and entrance tops and some microphones. That's pretty cool, too, because, like, even if you already have their figures, those are technically different.
Right.
So, and I would like that, because I do want a Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page.
Yes.
But that's not Ethan Page's Kaz, which I would also take, because why not?
You'll take any figure that you don't have.
Then we have an Amazon exclusive John Moxley and Darby Allin Rivals pack. Basically the same thing, just not a tag team, I guess.
Yep.
This is a re-release of the Unrivaled 3 Darby Allin, which I actually do have, and the Unrivaled 5 John Moxley comes with the barbed wire bat, the same skateboard from the Darby Allin figure. They're some interchangeable hands, which is interesting.
Cool.
And then the AEW title, so that's nice. If you don't have the figures, or if for me, it's kind of interesting because I do want a Moxley, but I already have that Darby Allin, so
right.
It's kind of odd, but
duplicate.
Yeah.
Sell it.
Yeah, or like I don't know. Well, yeah, you could sell it. I'm just trying to, like, if there's anything else to do with it, but and then another Amazon exclusive thing, we have a Chris Jericho, what they're calling a gear pack, and basically it's an Unrivaled Jericho in plain black gear. Oddly, no knee pads, which I think kind of sucks, but whatever. Because it does seem kind of like a promo gear Jericho. You get 2 different cloth jackets, a pink one and a white one.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of cool. And you get like his, what would you call his neck thing?
Oh, like a
bandana,
scarf, or cravat.
Yeah,
perhaps.
And you get gloved hands, mic, and sunglasses. So that's kind of cool. It's an interesting concept.
Yep.
I would like to see how you do that. Like, what I really want from that kind of concept is a Kenny Omega with different tights, because you can just take off the body willy-nilly, right?
Yeah, right.
So you could literally do that. Like,
willy-nilly.
You could have 2 different like you could have you could give us a current heel Omega with the mustache.
Yep.
And then give us 2 of his recent attires.
Yep.
I think that'd be cool. Yep. And maybe even an interchangeable head. I don't know. I think that'd be really interesting.
It would. You would love that for sure.
Because my dream Ultimate Edition, like the WWE ones, is a Seth Rollins with 2 different pants. Nice. Because he has so many attires.
He does.
My ideal one would be double white Rollins, one from the SummerSlam, which is the one you like, and then the one from WrestleMania 36, which is just a white and kind of like beige, but it's a white gear, so who cares? Right. Next, we have a Smith's Toys. That's an odd thing to say, Smith's.
I've never heard of that.
It's in the UK.
Okay.
Smith's Toys exclusive AEW action ring with a Hangman Page figure. They did this when they first released the rings, except with an exclusive Cody. This is the same figure that's in the 2-pack, so another re-release of the Series 5 Hangman.
And just packaging it with a ring?
Which, I mean, that's not a bad concept, but I do wish it was kind of something different.
New.
I mean, I'm not going to be able to get it anyway, so I don't really care. But
right.
Next, we also have a Shop AEW exclusive Chris Jericho. A lot of Chris Jerichos here. An Unrivaled Jericho. He has an interesting looking shirt. Plain black tights again. He comes with the bat. So yeah, that's exclusive to Shop Jericho.
Nice.
Shop AEW.
Nice.
That's not bad, but a lot of these Jerichos are like pretty similar, which is the only issue I really have with it.
Right.
Next we have an AEW Wrestling Buddies Walmart exclusive Sting. That's not interesting.
I had a Wrestling Buddies Macho Man back in the day.
Yeah, like in the Goldbergs.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Yeah. Nice. Next we have a ringside exclusive Exploding Barbed Wire Death Match, Kenny Omega and John Moxley Unrivaled 2-pack. This is from like that Blood and Guts line. Remember the Cody and Dustin 2-pack that had the blood on him? So this is like the same line.
The not so exploding death match?
Yeah. But I like these because it's basically like
exploding.
Street attire with blood on them. Omega's got like the jeans with his knee pads on. I think that's pretty cool. I like it. I will definitely want to get that.
Nice.
Because I would rather that than Cody and Dustin, because who cares about Cody and Dustin?
Fair.
Well, people who are obsessed with the Rhodes, a family, I guess. Next we have another ringside exclusive. I think you'll find this one most interesting.
All right, hit me.
It is going to be a lights out match, Unrivaled Britt Baker.
Nice.
Yes, and they have shown renders of her head scans.
That is creepy. Just her severed head floating in a blue sky there in that picture.
With blood on it. Yes, yeah. But I think that's pretty cool. Yep. Definitely makes sense.
For sure.
I think they could loop that in the blood and guts line if they wanted to, but that seems to be like a 2-pack line kind of. And it does make sense that these are ringside exclusives because like you don't want like these bloody figures on the shelves, right?
Yeah.
When kids are going, because like the people who will want it will go get it on ringside. Right. Yeah. Like if you want it, you'll go to ringside.
You'll
to
find
get
it.
Right.
Yep.
Next we get AEW Unrivaled 8 render images. We already saw ones for Trent, Chucky T, and Chris Statlander, but then we also got one for Orange Cassidy, who comes with like the jean jacket, but with the best friend shirt this time.
Yep.
We got a John Moxley, which has like the head. It's pretty much the same as the Unrivaled 5, just slightly different pants, I guess.
Right.
And then also Chris Jericho, which I guess that's a Painmaker one.
Nice.
But then they also showed like an Unrivaled 8 Jericho on Ringside's Instagram that had like this blood jacket.
Yeah.
And it said that was on Series 8, so one of those is the chase. Don't ask me which one, because that's a good question. I don't know. Next, we got the lineup for Unrivaled 9. No actual images of the figures, but like just telling you who's in it. We have Christian Cage. We have Eddie Kingston. That's
nice.
That's pretty
cool.
Nice.
Yep.
Thunder Rosa. That's pretty nice. Brian Cage.
Nice.
Yeah. Ricky Starks.
Nice.
And Hobbs, which I think that's a pretty good line.
It's funny for Cage, they can just like take a He-Man figure and pop a Cage head because he basically looks like an action figure in real life anyways.
That's good because in terms of the AEW line, these are all new
getting some
people.
new guys, yeah,
right?
For sure.
Like, I mean, Cage is by no means new. He's a million WWE figures, but from the AEW line, these are all people who are
cool.
yet to get figures, so that's pretty cool. Britt Baker did get a figure before him, so she doesn't have to retire.
Right.
Next we get Unmatched 3 render images. Man. Yes. This has Mr. Brody Lee.
Awesome.
Rest in peace. That's pretty nice. I'll definitely try to get that. John Silver, who they literally just took the pack.
It looks good.
The pack. I don't know what you call it. Pack body, like pack loadout or whatever. Like literally even the legs and whatnot. But it works.
Yep.
We got Anna J.
Nice.
Evil Uno.
Nice.
And Stu Grayson.
Good Canadian boys. Like it.
Yes. And an LJN style Darby Allin, which don't care about that. And finally, the lineup for AEW Unmatched 4.
Who we getting? Anyone new?
CM Punk.
That's new.
Already. Like, that's pretty quick. I guess this would have been in the works.
You have a Punk figure somewhere, right?
Yeah, but it's a basic.
I know.
And I do really want a new Punk figure, so then I can actually put him to use. So this will be cool.
Nice.
I will probably get that, even though it'll be in his ugly tights. Next, we have MJF. We also got Cody Rhodes.
His 10th figure already?
Yep. Although Jericho's catching up to him, I gotta guess.
True.
MJF, a new Hangman Page. Whoop, whoop.
Nice.
Jade Cargill.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. And
again, already looks like an action figure in real life.
And Chris Jericho as Corazon de Leon. I don't know. It's even ECW Jericho.
Oh, that's like super retro Jericho.
Yeah, it's
that's probably wrestling
retro
in Mexico Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Mexico Jericho. He's part of the Luminaries collection, which seems to be there when Jakks Pacific did WWE figures, and they had a line called Classic Superstars.
Right.
And so this is like kind of their version of that line. Even when they did TNA, they had Legends of the Ring line. So this is, I guess, their kind of version of that, homage to that, so to speak.
Cool.
Like their kind of Legends line. The Sting in Unmatched 2 is a Luminaries connection as well.
Nice.
Collection, I mean. That's it.
Nice. So that's going to bring us to the end of episode 60. I'll be back probably on Monday to talk about Ring of Honor 521, where I think it might be the finals of the women's tournament plus whatever else they put on there.
I think that's at Death Before Dishonor.
Oh, it is? So maybe it won't be on that show then. That would make sense. Put it on a pay-per-view probably. But we will definitely be back again next Saturday for episode 61. We appreciate any time you take out of your week to listen to us talk about wrestling. We hope to see you back here next Saturday. And until then, take care.
Bye.